Welcome to the Le Mans Virtual Series. I'm Duncan Vincent, and this is round 2 of our 5-round championship. And we are at Spa for round 2. Monza was a couple of weeks ago, and tonight we bring you live qualifying for the GTE and the prototype classes. We can't wait to get going. The World Endurance Championship last visited Spa at the start of May, and it did bring us a little bit of inclement weather. It was difficult for the drivers, but let's see what the Ardennes Forest is going to throw up for us tonight. As you can see, some beautiful pictures off the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. The Goodyear blimp is back in town as it was at Monza, and this is going to be a very special event. 5-round championship, as I said, and this is only the second round of our series. We do go to the Nordschleife, Sebring, and we finish with the 24 hours of Le Mans Virtual as well, which will be something pretty special. We had it last year, but let's see exactly how it goes for 2021. Spa's an iconic circuit. It's got some cracking circuit corners, and as ever, to bring people through these corners, I've got Chris McCarthy with me tonight. Chris, how are you?
Very well, Dunk. It's great to have you alongside for this one. You know, you're in for a great treat. I'm sure you saw the highlights from the first round. It was an absolutely fantastic race and gave us a taste of what we're going to expect throughout this 5 rounds, which is going to lead us, of course, into that 24-hour race in January at the Esports show. But yeah, we had some teams who we expected to go well have quite disasters, really, and then some performers that we didn't really expect to do as well as they did. So yeah, I don't think we can pay too much attention to the championship at this stage. It is only round 1, but also because we did see a few surprises, both good and bad.
We started with a 4-hour race. We've now got a 6-hour race. But here's Lewis with a little bit of an in-depth look at just exactly how this all unfolds.
Le Mans Virtual Series explained. The event will be run on the R-Factor 2 platform and includes a 38-car field, which will be up to more than 50 for the series finale, multi-class driving between Le Mans prototypes and GTEs, there'll be driver changes, dynamic weather and day-to-night transitions. The season would begin at the Temple of Speed with the 4 hours of Monza before we head to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round number 2, a 6-hour race, and then the 8 hours on the legendary Nordschleife. 500 miles, the only distanced race as we head to Sebring in North America, and then it's the big one, the 24-hour of Le Mans. The rules of the series include that each team must contain at least 1 professional driver, which will be up to 2 for Le Mans. Each driver will have to meet minimum and maximum driver times. Teams will work to create their own setups to optimise performance. Full simulation includes the use of fuel and tyres. Mechanical failures such as engine and brake failures will be included. Damage will affect the car but can be repaired in the pit stops, and stewards will oversee on-track action and will apply penalties if required. The prize pool is $250,000 across the series, half of which will be in the series itself and half of which will be applied to the 24-hour finale. It'll be split equally between each category, and the top 10 finisher receives prize money according to the positions in the series standings.
An in-depth look by Lewis here, which gives you a bit of a feel and a flavour for what we're going to have through this year. The big one, obviously, at ASI Autosport. So get your tickets for that. Get involved. Come along and be with us in that hall number 1 at the Autosport show. Chris, I want to talk about qualifying for this one. Who are you tipping for pole position? Who should people watch out for?
Oh, well, you know, it's a hard one to call. That's one thing that we saw at the first round, because if you missed it, you missed a cracker of a session. It was so close, particularly in the LMP2 class. In terms of pole position, there's a number of teams you could look at. R8G are going to be very quick again, I think. You know, they were very quick at the first round. Things didn't really, they had an absolute disaster in the race as well, so they're going to be looking to make amends this time. I think they're going to be ones to watch. Of course, the red line teams proved to be very fast, so there's no reason why they shouldn't be quick again. I'm excited to see some of the new faces we've got in more than anything. You know, we've got Jack Doohan, Kaio Collet, Felix Rosenqvist, Ben Viscal, so some big single-seater drivers in there, which is going to be really great. We might not see them in this session, but it'll be good to see where their cars are going to start tomorrow. Can you imagine Jack Doohan or someone like that starting on the front or second row? That would be absolutely awesome. So yeah, we've got some big names coming in for this one. In terms of who I'm going to go for, I've put R8G. I think that they're going to be the ones that take pole position in that number 18. I think that's a really quick team.
Let's hope that's not the curse of the night thrown their way. And I didn't mean to throw you under the bus with that straight away, but you are right, there's some big names coming towards us. Jack Doohan, Kyle Collette, they have a lot of history when it comes to real-world racing. They were racing at Spa not long ago in those very tricky conditions where Doohan took the victory, where they almost needed headlights on their F3 cars when they were going round. Now, we talked about how iconic Spa is. We all know we love the place. The weather can make it a bit more dynamic, and it probably will. But let's have a quick look at the track map now of Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit where every driver wants to drive. Everybody, Chris, wants to have a lap around this place. And the circuit itself, well, yeah, 7 miles long, is that? Is it length there? 7 miles long, lots and lots of corners on the circuit, which are Eau Rouge, Radion, the Kemmel Straight. You know, we've got places like Pouhon, which is a man's corner. It's a big corner in the middle of the circuit. So you've got to almost have the car set up for low downforce, but then also high downforce.
Yeah, it's got a bit of everything, isn't it? Everyone loves Spa. You know, I was lucky enough to go there earlier this year. You've been there several times, and when you go and see the places, you know, it's an absolutely beautiful circuit, isn't it? But to see these cars, I think it's got a bit of everything. You know, La Source is a very slow-speed corner, the final bus stop as well, but then we've got the high-speed corners as well. Over the course of a 6-hour race, that's going to require a lot of focus, isn't it? You can't, if you let the ball drop going through Eau Rouge one lap, you are toast, basically. So I think this has got a bit of everything. It's tricky enough to drive in the dry, but it's also quite tricky in the wet as well, and that could be a factor tomorrow.
It'll be interesting to see just exactly what the Ardennes Forest gives us for weather. We talked about Eau Rouge. Now, I managed to do a little piece for the World Endurance Championship standing at the bottom of Eau Rouge and Radion. Through Eau Rouge and the climb up Radion, it's the highest lateral G that they get anywhere in the year, and it punishes that inside back rear tyre, the back right tyre, because it tries to pull it over onto the sidewall of the tyre, and that's what really does upset these tyres here. So it'll be interesting to see what setup the people do and put on their cars. It'll be also interesting to see, though, Chris, you're very much right. It's a circuit which has had so much rain and drama over the year. We can't wait to get going. But it's great that you've picked the Romain Grosjean car. As far as GTE qualifying, that's what we're going to start with here. So who's McCarthy's pick for that?
Well, you know, the Porsches, I think, is a solid, it's got a safe pair of hands with the Porsche, and we've got a lot of Porsches in this. So, you know, the 91 and the 92 car are both very quick. You know, I think the 92 car could potentially take it. However, we are hearing that the Corvette is pretty quick round here as well. The Red Bull guys are in that. They bring Johnny Edgar in for this round, FIA Formula 3 driver. But I'm going to go for BMW Team Redline. I don't know. The BMWs we heard might not be particularly quick round here, but, you know, they brought in Rudy Van Buren. They've got Kevin Siggy and Enzo Benito, who are absolute powerhouses of the esports world. So, yeah, I think BMW potentially are my ones to watch. I'm going to throw a curveball in there, I think. That's
the BMW as well.
Yeah.
The BMW as well was very quick at Monza, but they might have struggled a little bit on tyres as well at Monza. There was a bit where their pace dropped off.
No, that's very true. They did struggle as the race went on. They were brand new. We didn't see them in the 24-hour race last year. So when they came in, it was we're kind of thinking, how are they going to do? You know, all of a sudden we're seeing BMWs coming in, but they were very good. You know, it was a good choice by the BMW team, and the fact that that was their first race in Le Mans virtual terms, I think they're going to be even quicker this time. So, yeah, I'm going to go for BMWs.
Looking forward to seeing how this session unfolds. Will it be McCarthy's choice? Will it be the top of the times for that red line BMW? We will soon find out as we bring you live pictures now from the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps as the cars make their way down the pit lane. You'll notice that it's a longer pit lane than what they would normally have. Normally the cars exit just at the top, but we have to come all the way down, right past the old pits, and they will join at the top of Le Radion for the start of this session for the GTE qualifying. So you can't, well, Chris says you've got to look at a good safe pair of hands, and that is the Porsche. They dominate the class. There's a lot of them. Not much in the way of Ferrari presence, which I'm very surprised at, Chris.
Yeah, you know, there's a couple of Ferraris in there. You know, the FDA Esports team. Again, they've brought in Davy Perrell. So 13 teams in the field have remained unchanged in terms of their driver lineups. But other than that, you know, we've got loads of drivers. So, of course, how it works is you have 5 drivers that will be used throughout the season. At least 2 of those are pro drivers. And the FDA Esports team have brought Davy Perrell with them for this round. that's the thing. It's going to be a case of which car goes better. That's why a lot of people choose the Porsche, because it tends to be quick everywhere. But you never know. You know, there's a lot of fast straights around here. It might suit the Ferrari, but then again, that's why people are saying the Corvette could be particularly quick around here, because you've got that long run down the Kemmel Straight and so on.
And it never really got a chance to show itself at Monza, the Corvette, did it? It was involved in a very early accident.
Yeah, there was an early incident, and you know, that was coming through Curva Grande, and unfortunately that was the end of their race, really. So yeah, they're going to be out for revenge this time. You know, not on that car, but they're out to make amends, shall I say, and so that's going to keep them fired up. They've got nothing to lose.
So a 20-minute session here for their qualifying for the GTE cars. This is where the drivers would be just getting themselves dialed in. They've probably been doing a lot of testing today. They know the circuit inside out, but this is where they've got to do it. They've got maybe 2 or 3 runs at this maximum. Depends how many tyres they can throw at the car. I'm imagining everybody will be out there on the soft compounds, although we did see a few guys testing earlier on during the day on the medium tyre. Does that surprise you?
No, I think they want to get a look at everything. You know, it's not just going to be in terms of what they're going to want to use in qualifying, but these guys can practice as much as they want. If you gave a race team, you could say you can go out on Spa and you can be out there for 24 hours, unlimited fuel and everything. Hey, go right, let's practice on this tyre, let's do this amount of time, let's do this tyre, this amount of time. The thing you've got to remember is these guys have raced around Spa in these cars several times, so for them they're doing what they've probably done before, albeit now in the Le Mans Virtual Series.
They're all bunching up at the bus stop chicane here, trying to get a bit of clear track. That's the FDA Esports Ferrari, the number 51 car there. We saw the Corvette just at the back of that, and I think that's one of the Proton Porsches in the middle as well, Proton competition, as we head towards Le Source. So the Spa circuit is sensational. To drive it is something else, and the elevation changes that these drivers have to go through with their 17 minutes of the session remaining. Now, a car leaving the pit lane, that's a 91 Porsche just leaving the pit lane just now, but it's very early days, Chris, but the timing screens are going to they're going to let us know exactly what happens in a minute or two. The D-Station car, great to see an Aston Martin on the grid, great to see D-Station, the proper team, do it as well.
Well, you know, the Aston Martin was on the podium at the 24-hour race last year, so it was quite a surprise when they turned up with only one car on the grid. So it was a bit of a shame, really, to see that. But you know, D-Station, as you said, they're a team that we all know from the World Endurance Championship, and they're unchanged going into this round as well. I think D-Station is a team more to look at. We've got to give them a bit of time. I think they're down on experience in terms of the rest of the field, so it's going to take them a bit of time to get up to speed, I think. I think they're a team that could perhaps be one to watch when we get to Le Mans at the end of this season. But I think they've done the right thing by coming back with the same 3 drivers, and we're going to go again this time. But you know, they had a clean finish in round 1, so they're just going to be hoping for the same thing here, I think, this time.
Yeah, being the only Aston Martin as well, all eyes from AMR very much on these guys just now. They're just going through the top of Malmedy just now as we look towards our timing screen to see if anybody is setting any sectors like, well, obviously everybody is just now, because it's basically the first attempt at a lap here at Spa. But what we can also tell you is the weather conditions. Myself and Chris didn't know what it was going to be like. We've been treated to some beautiful Belgian sunshine tonight.
Yeah, it's you know, that's what we want to see. We want to see these cars going around here as quickly as possible. They're just going to be getting the tyres up to speed now, and then we'll see some laps go on. Here's the Red Bull car. Yeah, we did a vote actually on our Instagram page as to what the favourite livery, and the Red Bull livery was the one that won that. So it was actually the 2 Red Bull cars in the final, funnily enough. So yes, here is the Red Bull team. Again, Johnny Edgar is coming in for them for this round, so it's going to be great to see him throughout the weekend. But Yuri Kasdorp is in the car for qualifying. No surprise to see Yuri Kasdorp in. Very, very quick driver, very established driver as well. So a good person to get in for qualifying.
And they're both backed up by Nestor Garcia, the 3rd driver in that car as well, as we go on board through Le Source hairpin. And this is where you tighten up the seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen. You come down towards Eau Rouge, the big compression at the bottom of the hill. Great onboard shots here, and just listen to this. Does he lift? Not on your life. Ooh, over the curbs there. Eduardo Freitas will be keeping a good eye on this from race control as well, along with Ben Ruster-Turner. But yeah, there was not even a thought in his mind about lifting going through Eau Rouge there and over the crest of Radion.
No, he's already thinking about the exit. That's exactly what he's doing, is he's coming down to Eau Rouge and Radion. But great to get some onboards in nice and early. We can see they're already pushing very hard. You know, we haven't really had any real times come in just yet, but we'll see those come in. One thing they've got to be careful of is managing what they're going to do strategy-wise. If they're going to come into the pit lane once during this session, it takes a long time. Overall, to go in the pit lane and do a full stop is about just under 2 minutes, I think it is. So it's an incredibly long time. It takes 62 seconds just to go through that pit lane. So that's something they'll have to be wary of tomorrow. You don't want to get a drive-through. But I think, like Monza, they had a lot more laps to play with. At Spa, you got less laps to play with. It's a longer circuit, so every lap counts.
Every lap does count. Every corner counts at Spa as well. And the teams will have gone through in their data. They'll know exactly how long it takes them to get through that pit lane and what a pit stop on top of that means. But the great onboard footage just now with the Red Bull car. But you were mentioning BMW Redline. Yeah, they're currently sitting top of the time just now. It's Ziggy. That man gave Ziggy up top there. You obviously know something that I don't know, Chris McCarthy. You must have a hotline to these guys at BMW Redline. But on board towards Blanchimont, we're looking at the throttle trace on the right-hand side. The green bar absolutely Harry flatters through Blanchimont up towards the bus stop chicane. Where's the braking point? Well, there's a white line that crosses the road that you can pick a braking marker there, but I think that's a little bit, that's mine or your braking marker. It's a bit early.
When you see circuit guides for places like Spa, people use all sorts, shadows, the start of a shadow, a house on the left, building markers, anything. And it's not often, not always on the side of the circuit that you're on. Sometimes people will use it on the opposite side as well. So, it's the braking boards that go in aren't always used when it comes to braking markers.
Yes, I noticed that the Red Bull was using a little bit of extra track there as it went down towards Poole. Did you notice that?
Well, in R-Factor 2, it should automatically clock any track limits. Speaking to the guys earlier, but as you said, we've got Eduardo Freitas, who will be on the case if necessary as well. As you can see a lot of them in pit lane, so they've all come out and done a couple of laps, and then they've gone back in again. And as you said, right now it's Kevin Siggy sitting at the top. So there you can see just how little laps that they have to play with. They probably did one flyer. The time it took them to get out, do a flyer, come back in, that's 6 to 8 minutes alone just to do one kind of full run through.
The 71 BMW atop of the times just now from the 92 Porsche of Rogers, the 911 car there. The RSR in second place. It's Ravio in third place and Keithley down in fourth and Collins in fifth place. So everybody's very tight together. 6/10 of a second covering the top five. I reckon, Chris, I think that will compress as qualifying goes on as we look at the D station car coming through the middle part of the lap, heading down towards the start of Poulon. Let's see if he uses the extra track limit here as well. Running down the edge of the track, no. It's obviously just a Red Bull trait there. Yeah,
what you'll see them, just speaking to Lewis about this as well, you'll see them as they come down to Poulon, they'll go on the right-hand side. They will have their wheels on the grass slightly. That's something that they should be doing. That helps them gain a tiny bit of time, believe it or not. So, we did see the Red Bull car doing that. It weren't because, he was looking at his phone and he was starting to turn right without realising. That's because that's how you line up that corner.
Don't use your phone when you drive, kids, please. Chris is having a laugh there as we have got 10 minutes of qualifying for the GTE class just now. You can see the lineup of drivers for the 92 car there. That's Karam, Rogers and Oostgaard. These guys right now sitting in second place, 1/10 of a second off the fastest time. So they are very, very much in contention here. Where's the sister car? Where's the 91 car? Why can't I see that?
So the 91 has just gone purple through the first sector, actually. So the 91 car is about to set a big lap here.
Yeah, that's Matt Backham. It's on his first lap as well. So this is maybe they've been letting everybody get out there and get a little bit of a head start almost, or think of it what you like, but they've maybe got a different qualifying run. They're only going to go for 2 runs.
I think they want to have an empty track. I think that's what it is, but there we can see Mac Backham now making his way on his flying lap. Let's see what he does through Sector 2. It's a 36.8 through Sector 1, and we're just going to wait for him now to finish Sector 2, which ends as they come through this right-hander. Mac Backham on board the 91 Porsche, and he's done a personal best. So 57.1, which is a very quick second sector.
It's a very quick second sector. This will move him up into either second or third place as we ride on board with him along towards Blanchimont. Again, there won't be any hint of a lift towards this corner. Oh, we just love it. Chris McCarthy, we just love it. Wincing as he goes towards it. Pick a braking marker, kids. In he comes, braking, down the gears, bang, 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 bang. What does he go down to? First gear through the bust-up chicane. Left, right, watch the exit curb. Don't get too keen on the exit curb or the apex. Up towards the line. Where does this put Matt Backham on the times as he crosses the line? And he goes P3 with that one. Good lap for him, Chris.
Yeah, very good. Just 2.5 tenths off. That won't be his only lap either. So a very good marker to play with. He knows that they've got the pace in that car. It's kind of the cars we were expecting at the top. It's a BMW Porsche fight, which is exactly what we saw at the first round. And it's going to be a fantastic battle that we see throughout the season. But looking at the other cars, Ferrari is down in, with Jordi's Rise, is down in 9th place. Yuri Kasdorp is down in 11th, but
yeah,
you're just pointing it out as well. It's just gone purple through the first sector.
Purple first sector for the Red Bull Corvette here with Kasdorp, and he is on a lap. We wait for him to come through and break this beam. Here he's doing his famous line in towards that corner. It almost looks like it kind of upsets the car on the way in, but we were tipped off pre-show by Lewis McGlade that this is a quick car. Today, or this weekend, it's going to be interesting to see just how the Corvette tackles the circuit of Spa. But right now, he's just about to come up to break the beam for his second sector, purple sector through sector 1, and this is a bit of a shot in the arm that this team need after the Monza.
Yeah, it is. This is where they might suffer slightly, but this is exactly what they need. They need to come here and take pole position and get that race off to a good start, stay out of trouble. So they will want nothing less. Someone of Yuri Kasdorp's quality as well will want nothing less than pole position. He's lost a little bit of time in the second sector, but he's got a chance to make that up now as we go down to bus stop.
Yeah, half a second we'll see him slot into possibly 6th place here at the end of this lap as he comes in, gets the car settled on the brakes. Looked like it was a little bit flighty on the way in there, gets a good apex through the exit, accelerates up through the sequential gearbox, half a second down at the second sector. He goes across the line now, and where does this put him? It puts him up to P8 so far, so it drifted away just a little bit towards the end of that, Chris.
Well, you can just see how quick that is. The Corvette is through the first sector. That's where they're making up all their time. So they're going to be a difficult car to race against because they'll always repass you down the Campbell Straight. If you get past that Corvette, you have to probably do it in the second or third sector. I think that's what that tells me looking at that lap time.
6 minutes of the session remaining as we pick back up with one of the BMWs. This is a R8G BMW at the top of the circuit, the highest point of the circuit, and he starts coming back down. Now, I haven't noticed anybody else using that Red Bull line, so whether the other drivers are avoiding it or thinking that they haven't seen it yet, it'll be interesting to see, but he's trying to stay away from that as much as he can. The 71, the 92 and the 91 car, the top three just now. The 91 and the 89 in 4th place, all in the pit lane.
Yeah, this is the 888. They were very impressive, I have to say, at the first round, the Tesla R8G. This is Roman's junior team, if you like, the youngest driver lineup, one of the youngest driver lineups in the field, and they were second for the first phases of Monza, qualified well likewise, and they were very, very impressive, I have to say. The race, of course, didn't go very well for them, and they were only managed to get half a point on the board, but I think these guys are one to watch as the season plays on.
Timotej Andrianowski at the wheel. We can see him in the insert just now. He said a personal best through sector 1, but you can see just how hard work it is to drive one of these sim rigs. I had my first ever short earlier on, and I did 3 laps and thought, well, okay, that's enough for me. My hands are starting to sweat, the vibrations, it's not easy. The concentration was starting to kill me as he comes through. He's actually heading for the pit lane there, Chris, so he's decided to abort that lap. Currently sitting in 14th place for that Romain Grosjean junior team, and he's followed in by a flurry of cars. I'd imagine fresh set of boots, and let's try one last time. Yeah,
I just saw the GR Wolves car there as well, and they've set up in an interesting place this weekend, haven't they?
Haven't they just? They're actually in, now I'm not a huge football man, so they're in a football stadium.
They're in the Molineux,
yeah. The Molineux, thank you very much. So, let's hope there's a bit of winning to get done there, because I'm not sure if much winning gets done.
I mean, they had a dreadful first round, didn't they? They'll just want to forget all about that and one thing as well, pressing escape is going to get you back to your garage quicker. So you need to do the whole in lap and through the pit lane to get to your garage. You can't just press escape as soon as you get in the pits and travel to your garage quicker. You know, you can see we've only got 4 minutes on the clock, so if you're not out on track now, you want to be getting up there very quickly, because it takes 2 minutes and 11 seconds to do a fly around here, so you want to be out here in the next minute max, I'd say.
Is that the Romain Grosjean BMW just coming right out in front, right out in front? That's not something you want at the top of Radion there. That was the BMW Team GB car that we were riding on board with just now, up to the top of the Kemmel Straight. But it's still the same guys at the top. There hasn't been any change, and as we look at the times right now, we don't see any new fastest sectors coming through. So this is really it. This is what they've got. Everything they're going to have to lay it on the line, because this is qualifying. This sets us up for the 6 hours of Spa tomorrow, Chris. And the BMW Team GB car just making its way through the middle part of the circuit as it comes in towards Pouhon, which is a frighteningly fast, long left-hander which drops away from you all the way through there, puts a massive amount of load through all the tyres as he kisses the curb on the inside, and that forced him just a little bit wide there. You could see the car bobbling before he comes up towards the latter part of the lap.
Yeah, Jack Heathley doing a good job. 36.9 through the first sector, so losing a couple of tenths through there, but still, 5th place would be a solid place to start for the number 55 as they now make their way to complete the second sector, and a 57.8 through the second sector, so a pretty solid second sector as well as they now make their way up towards the end of the lap. Here we look back at the red line car. This is the car currently leading the way in the number 71.
The car that Chris McCarthy topped as possible pole position, and I'm so impressed with that. Kevin Siggy on the money all the way here. As we look, he's still got a 1/10 of a second. That gap has closed just a little bit by a couple of hundredths of a second at the top, but it's still the 71 car which leads the way from the 92 and 91 Porsche Esports team cars. That would be the top 3 as it finishes just now. The next car number 89, is another BMW, and that's very much in the hunt as well. That's the BMW Team BS Competition car just now.
Yeah, and they had a good first round as well. BS Competition actually had a fantastic start to the first race, jumped straight into the lead as well and led it for a while. Here we look back at the number 89, Eunice Ravio, who has done a personal best through the first sector. We did just see an improvement there from Kevin Van Duren in the Proton Competition car. Is that in the number 77? Yes, and has got up to 3rd place.
Yeah, he slotted his competition Porsche in between the two, you could say, factory cars, as my fingers do that little thing there. Yeah, so a very good lap there as Eunice brings his BMW competition, the BS competition car, back into pit lane. 1 minute 20 seconds to go as we pick up with the FDA Esports team Ferrari making its way up to the top off the Kemmel Straight, and we look for that car on our sheets just now. Where is the 51 car? You have to go...
It's down in 10th place.
Yes, it's quite far down, quite far off the pace, isn't it?
And that's a bad first sector as well, so yeah, I don't think we're going to see...
That's been overdriven right now by the looks of things on the screen there. That was bouncing through the top of Malmedy out towards the exit curb. Not good at all. Not a good way to start your last lap for qualifying around Spa. The Dion Backham and Cronkite car makes its way up through Horus. That is an iconic picture. If I've ever seen it, I've stood there and it makes the hairs on the back of my neck still stand up as we sit inside this commentary booth just now. 40 seconds, Chris, and I see a couple of personal bests, but they're further down. I don't see any changes at the top. I don't see any purple sectors.
No, we are seeing, of course, a couple of personal bests. Hakkinen's just done 2 personal bests actually in the number 86 GR Wolves car, so there could be some celebrations down at the Molyneux at the end of this lap. They're going well on this final lap, and Andonovsky in the Tesla RHE car is got on personal best through the second sector, and we're also seeing the number 88 as well for the Proton competition car also improving, so that's the second of the Proton cars in terms of the order that they run in this qualifying session. So we could see some changes in and around the top 10.
That was one of the Wolves cars off the road at the Pouhon. They're coming back on at a very funny angle, so the checker flag has now gone out. So this is it, and Kevin Siggy is on a fast lap in the BMW Team Redline number 71 car. Fastest of all through the first sector, so he really is throwing the gauntlet down and having a go at this, a charge to... Well, he's already in provisional pole position, but he's trying to get ahead of the game and increase that gap. That car looks like it rotates in the middle of the corner really well. It's steering well at the front, but also the back goes where he wants it to go, Chris.
It's just proved to be a really, really good car this year so far. So a bit of a surprise package to people that watched the 24-hour race last year, because we never really saw it, so we didn't really know what to expect. And yeah, lo and behold, it's proved to be a very good car, one that I think will only get quicker as the season goes on, but it's not guaranteed yet, because I think Matt Backham is on a flyer as well. In fact, I think he's potentially aborted that lap. He's going to pit lane, I think. But Kevin Siggy about to close the session.
Yeah, up towards the line. That car was a little bit sideways through the heart of the bus stop chicane, and he crosses that one with a 1:34.196. And his last sector, so a little bit off there as a 2. The clock's still ticking for him, actually. That's Backham, the clock's still actually ticking for Mac Backham.
I think he's aborted, isn't he?
Yeah.
But, I don't think
or he's not made it round.
Yeah, we didn't see any improvement from Siggy there on the final lap, but still secures pole position.
And you look very smug with that, may I add, because I asked you for the knowledge. You are the fountain of all knowledge here when it comes to esports stuff with Lewis McGlade. Who's going to be quick tonight? And you pointed out that this car would be fast. So the BMW Red Line car takes pole position, and Kevin Siggy will be very, very happy with his 2:11.750 as they have to now complete the cool-down lap, don't they?
Yeah. Well, one thing you've got to look at is Kevin Siggy was 4.5 tenths quicker than any other BMW out there. And that just goes to show what kind of driver he is, how much he can extract from that car, because he is surrounded by Porsches. When they go down towards turn 1 tomorrow, he's going to be absolutely swamped by them. But the BMWs were really, really quick, even though it is a rolling start. They're incredibly quick getting going at the first round. But to be 4.5 tenths quicker than any other BMW just shows how good Kevin Siggy is and how good that lap was from him.
But what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at and noticing here is Sector 1, all about the Corvette. It wasn't quick through the rest of the lap, but that Sector 1, the big push up the hill from Radion to the Kemmel Straight, it's all about Corvette. That's horsepower.
They're starting in 9th. Where are they going to be by the end of the Kemmel Straight? If all goes well through La Source and Upper Rouge and Radion, where are they going to be by the end of the Kemmel Straight? They could be charging their way up into the top 5. I mentioned it earlier. I think they're just going to be a hard car to get past and escape from, because anytime you pass them, they're going to be straight back past you when you get down that Kemmel Straight. It's going to be a frustrating car to race against, especially with someone like Yuri Kasdorp in there as well, you know, who's an incredibly quick driver. Johnny Edgar's going to jump in that car as well, and I'm sure he'll have a bit of fun with that as well. But yeah, they're sat right in the middle, and they could make some places with the speed that they got getting on the straight.
Well, we know how fast that car is going to be up that hill. But we look at Kevin Siggy, but then we notice after that, it's a flurry of Porsches. Now, you commented on it. We've got 4 Porsches all together, all within maybe 2.5 tenths of a second. So that's a very busy part of the grid. Rogers, Collins, Van Doren and Backham all very tightly close. What do you think of that?
Yeah, you know, we've got 2 of the factory Porsches, if you like, that are going to be that will try and work together if they could, but yeah, they're all going to be desperate to get past the BMW as quickly as possible. It depends how I think the Porsches and BMWs are fairly at Monza. They seem fairly evenly matched, but they won't be in a hurry. I don't think. I'm going to go back on myself there, because we saw that the BMW went off at the end of the race. So if they don't end up getting past in the early stages, they'll be wary of the fact that the tyres went off on the BMW a little bit quicker than the Porsches.
So let's have a look at the results, Chris. We'll get them coming up on the screen just now. We can have a quick look and see how everybody got on there. As the lovely wet graphic comes up there, BMW Redline on pole from Porsche Esports Team 92, and 88 Proton Competition in 3rd place, 77 Proton Competition, and the next Porsche is 91 Esports Team right behind it. Then we've got the BMW BS Competition number 89 with BMW Team GB 55 in 7th place. Project 1 are in there as well. Project 1 very much in there in 8th place, just ahead of the Red Bull Corvette. Now, we did talk about the Corvette, but then we go to 10th place, all the way down to 10th place, till we get, Chris, our first Ferrari, the FDA Esports Team. That's not a good qualifying for Ferrari.
No, it isn't. You know, they finished 7th at the first round. So one thing they did do is they moved forward. I believe it was 9th. They qualified at the first round, and they moved forward a couple of places. So you know, Ferrari, it's where we expected them to be off the basis of race 1. We didn't know how the car was going to be here, but you know, working in the World Endurance Championship, that if your car doesn't suit your track, you've just got to extract the best you can and wait until you get to a track that does suit your car.
when you can be fast, but you've got to be clever when you can't be fast. That's the big thing about it here. So that's qualifying for the GTE cars done. Why not, before we go to the prototype qualifying, let's go and have a look at what is actually going to happen at the Autosport International Show. If that doesn't whet your appetite for going to the Autosport Show, nothing will. Make sure you join us in January for the 24 hours. It's going to be live. We're going to be in Hall 1. We're all going to be there. There's going to be drivers there, the big name drivers. It's just what you want to do is book yourself a ticket for that. So, GTE qualifying has gone. Up next, we have got the prototype qualifying. And, well, let's see if Chris McCarthy can make it 2 out of 2 on the predictor. Chris, you picked the R8 car, the Roman Grosjean car for this one.
Well, you know, I did pick BMW Redline, got pole for round 1, so I did just kind of go for the pole sitter from round 1. In terms of the P2s, you know, I think R8G in the 18 is the one I think is going to be very, very quick. You know, looking at their driver lineup, they had a bad first round. It wasn't good at all, but they've brought in Artur Rougier, who is a GT World Challenge racer, and Risto Capit as well, incredibly quick driver. He's a multiple champion in GP VWC, so in the Super League. So they've essentially had a bad round, and they've gone, right, let's bring out the big guns. Nothing against their other drivers, but I think that's kind of what they've gone with for this round, in that I don't think they're going to settle for anything less. Nothing
like bringing out the big guns when you need a bit of performance.
So that's why, you know, for round 2, we've brought out the big guns.
The Scotsman's on tour, in the hot seat for Martin Haven, who can't be with us. Martin, we look forward to getting you back some point this year. But the big guns, you mentioned the big guns.
Yeah.
I straight away look and I noticed Jack Doohan, and I noticed Kyle Collette. These are guys who come with pedigree. These are guys who are hot, hard racers, who we know do a lot of sim racing. Jack Doohan, the Red Bull man, where will he be next year? Kai Collette, he gave us some magical overtaking at Spa, whether you watched the F3 race.
Yeah.
The top of radio, and he was on the grass at certain points. People were a little bit worried with him, but these are guys who come with form at this circuit. How do you think they're going to get on?
Yeah, the younger drivers, they play esports a lot. It's kind of what they grew up with. So, and particularly when we had the lockdown period, it was how they kept themselves busy and how they kept themselves in shape in terms of being quick around circuits. So, yeah, they're going to be so familiar with the track and the cars as well. So, yeah, the likes of Kai Collette coming in, Bent Viscal as well is going to be great. Felix Rosenquist, you know, from the IndyCar. it's just crazy. You know, you kind of run out of room. Phil Dennis is a very quick driver as well. So he's been brought in as the pro driver at the Mel team. I know Phil from Esports Championships, incredibly quick driver, the American. So yeah, all round we've got some, you know, we've got too much to play with almost. You know, we're over fuel with loads of talent in that. And another one we've got brought in, Wiltshire Goethe as well, from DTM Trophy, and Mike Epps as well. You know, used to racing British touring cars. So it's just
There's nothing like being spoiled for choice, and that's exactly what we have.
That's what I was looking for. We're spoiled for choice.
We've got the cream of the crop. When you get down to the bottom of that, you mentioned Will Stevens, Kyle Collette, Felix Rosenquist, Bent Viscal, Luke Browning. This is going to be a fast qualifying session.
Ex-F1 racer.
Ex-F1 racer, Will Stevens, who we have seen in the World Endurance paddock and the ELMS paddock as well. He's been a Jota Sport driver. He's been a Panis Barthez driver.
He's done everything, isn't he? Yeah.
He is a good class act. Let's see how this unfolds. As you can see, once again, live pictures now from Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Beautiful sunshine in the middle of the Arden Forest. Not something that we get all the time. And who knows what the weather will do tomorrow to us, Chris McCarthy. We've got our fingers crossed for something that the drivers probably haven't got their fingers crossed for. As they make their way down through the long, elongated pit lane here, they don't leave the short Formula 1 style pit lane, they come all the way down to the bottom, and I've actually stood right at that exit point there.
So have I. I got to do it when I was there with the GT Championship. It is incredibly scary, incredibly scary. You know, when the cars obviously are right over tight to that wall, and you know, you can stand where that marshal was, the virtual marshal there, and if you speak to the marshals, they'll say, yeah, go for it, and you can stand there for a lap.
You won't stand there long, will you?
No, it's absolutely incredible. Yeah, you know, don't lean your phone over because it might not be there after they go
Well,
by. So
I wouldn't lean your phone over. It's a very expensive looking new one you've got there as well. I quite like that, the iPhone 13.
I tell you what, just some other names. We were saying, you know, how much sport choice we are. You see some of the other names we've got in as well for tomorrow. Tom Dillman, Louis Delatraz, Yiffy Yi. You know, the list goes on and on and on. You know, we've got so many good drivers. Luke Browning as well, who's an F4 racer and now does Italian and ADAC F4. So, yeah, it's going to be incredibly competitive. Last time this qualifying session was dealt in thousands, not even hundreds. It went down to thousands of a second. I think it was 1,000th of a second. So, yeah, expect a very, very close session.
And what we can tell you by looking at the session is everybody on track, apart from one driver, is a professional gamer, as we can see there. It's quite interesting. They're putting the gamer guys out there to try and get the pole position.
Yeah, no surprise. When we did the 24-hour race last year, I think Jensen Button was even one of the drivers that say it. They basically said, you know, when they teamed up with, you know, the professional esports drivers, they'd say, right, you teach me how to drive. And imagine being told that by an F1 driver. You know, even the Toyota Gazoo guys said to their professional drivers, you know, just tell us how to drive these things. So, you know, they had to throw their own kind of books out the window and learn all over again, because it is a different art to it, although on the face of it very much looks the same. So, yeah, no, the Axel team have obviously gone with Nikib Aslan, but other than that, we have all professional gamers.
Yeah, David Nemchek I saw on that list as well, but that's now changed actually. Or has it? Has he disappeared? Anyway, we'll get this qualifying.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find it. There's a couple of them out there. But it's interesting because when I was watching the Monza round, the previous round, it was a case of the gamers started it, then the pro drivers were in the middle, and then I think it was yourself or Lewis said that the gamers would then mop up at the end of the race.
Yeah. I think it depends where you qualify, you know, as well, who you want to put in at the start and who you want to be in at the end. That's why there's so much crossover in, you know, the Le Mans Virtual Series to the World Endurance Championship. I think we're looking at one of the teams now that had a bit of an eventful first round. To say
we should mention young Gordy.
Yeah, you know, we've both known Gordy for a long time, and it was, you know, he's won championships in GT cars, and he just made one small mistake, but
punishment didn't fit the crime.
Yeah.
It was a next to nothing error and a spin off an exit curve, but then unfortunately, middle of the track, bang,
from the lead. You know, it was a real shame to see, and obviously he was collected twice. One of the Porsches went into him, you know, as well. So yeah, it was a real shame. But now they come into this, and you know, they've got all the ground to make up. The point system, you know, you do get 25 for a win at this race. That will change in the longer races. But yeah, if you get a win, you can make ground up very easily. But their fate is kind of in the hands of others. They can really collect big points when we get to the 24-hour race. That's when, you know, you get 50 for a win at that race. So
yeah, double points.
The championship's nowhere out the window for them. But it's nothing worse. You know, you might say it from experience as well. And I know when you don't have points on the board leaving round one, that hurts you. You think about it all the way until round two.
It's too early to talk about a championship, yes, but to have no score,
it is mind games, isn't it?
Yeah,
mentally it's very, very difficult. So you just want to see those points on the board, and then you can relax.
We were watching Dennis Jordan in the Red Bull car there. Went very, very deep in towards the bus stop. I've got to say that was a bit of an error on his lap there, as we look at GPX Rebellion Williams going up over the crest of the hill. Away they go for another lap up towards the highest point of that circuit, all at the Kemmel Straight. And we go back to, if I'm not mistaken, this is the round one winners, if I'm thinking. That's Real Team Hydrogen Red Line as they come across the line just now, and they go into provisional pole position.
Yeah, great start.
Well, you know, when you've got momentum on your side, Chris, when it's swinging right for you, keep it going and just get on with it.
Yeah, you know, real time. That Red Line team, you know, did a great job from, you know, the second row, just got themselves up into the lead and took advantage of events that unfolded around them, kept themselves out of trouble, as well as then holding off the challenges from behind, because they were getting big challenges from behind, particularly in the latter phases of the race. But Danny Juncadella held on so well to go and claim the win for them. He was the one on track, of course, not a one-man job. at all. He was the one that would just end the race.
Jeffrey Riedveld, the man who is in the hot seat in that number 70 car just now, as he comes down here. Kyle Collette is the replacement driver for the team for this weekend. But that's a cracking lap, a 57.4. He's 0.2 of a second up the road from anybody else just now. So let's see exactly how that unfolds. Still plenty of time to go, 14 minutes. Are we expecting 2 or 3 runs for the prototype cars? What do you think?
I'd say they'll probably do it. They'll look to do a couple at least. You just got to remember how long it takes them to come in. You know, the GTs, they did a couple of laps. Some teams waited in the pits, didn't they? Until the latter stages, and there is some that are still in the pit lane, so they're waiting for other cars just to get out there and get their laps in. But as you can see, they've done a run, they're going to come straight back in. Yeah,
Dennis Jordan was the car that we followed into the pit lane there just now through the bus stop chicane, trying not to trip anybody up, trying not to get in anybody's way is the other thing. And as you heard Eduardo Freitas saying, do not push the escape button when you cross the line. Get to your garage first of all, please. Fordzilla. If that's not one of the best names in motorsport, never mind esports, I don't know what is. The only thing, I think the car should be green with red flashes like Godzilla, but a cracking good outfit, good team.
And they've got Alex Palou as part of their lineup as well, you know, IndyCar Series champion. So
the man.
And they've just built such a strong unit at that team, you know, they're represented across every part of esports really that you could imagine, and they've got a real good setup there. Obviously they had a crash in the pit lane at the first round, and that was just one of a couple of things that really went wrong for them in that race. So another team who we haven't really seen what they can do over the course of a long race just yet. So interested to see how they go in this one.
Yeah, Race Clutch Alpine on screen just now. That's Boecler, Andrea and Milan. Now you're talking about people having bad luck in the pit lane. I've got to talk about the WRT car after their caught. I mean, they were in the pit lane and they got hit. They lost the wing, and that really affected the race there and then. That was them done. Yeah,
I believe that was the Fordzilla car. Went straight into the back of them, and then what they had to do was do a full lap because I think they got pushed out their pit box. You can't go backwards down the pit lane. Someone did do that in the 24-hour race last year. But I think it was one of the Toyota guys as well. But they had to do a whole lap without a rear wing, and it was painful to watch actually, because they spun coming out of Ascari going down in a straight line. They had no rear wing. It was.
It would be painful to be in the car as well as having for us to watch it. So Riedveld on pole just now, provisional pole. It's Chinchink in second place, and Jajowski in that third place in the 8 car, and Simonchik just behind him in P4 just now. But I've got to say, Chris, the screens have gone very calm. A lot of guys will be in the pit lane or on an out lap, but that lap that the 70 car threw down, still 0.2 of a second up the road from anybody else.
Yep, very good start to the session that. And then we got Chinchik in second, Jajowski in third place, the guys who got pole last time. So definitely going to be ones to watch.
They need a good qualifying, but most of all, the qualifying is one thing for them, but that's the car that needs a race. That needs a good, clean race so they can get those points on the board. You can imagine how Gordy Much is feeling just now, just wanting to get back in that car, get some laps under his belt, because as in real racing, the sim racing is exactly the same, Chris. If you have something go wrong in a race and you don't get back in that car, it nags away at you, it gnaws away at you, so Gordy will be desperate to get back behind the wheel.
Yeah, Williams are the same, that, you know, the teams that don't have any points, Team WRT, RHG, Panis Racing, Williams and Yassit. If you do not finish the race, you don't get any points. If you finish outside of the top 10, you get a half point.
Panis Racing, sacre bleu, they've got no points. That's not good for Panis Racing.
We only had 1 DNF in GTE, but we had 5 in the LMP class. So all of those teams want to get going as quickly as possible. Josh Ladd is in the Yassit, and he's down in 15th. Williams are up in 5th. You know, very strong lineup in that number 5 car as well. We'll see how they go.
Car facing the wrong way, coming out of the... Is that the number 8 car? Is that the number 8 Roman Grosjean car? I believe it was, if my eyesight's good enough, Chris. We was just had a little spin off the La Source hairpin there. Purple sector 1 for the number 8 car, so it possibly wasn't him that's facing the wrong way. Jajowski just now going purple through sector 1, 32.9, so let's see where that puts him further in the lap.
That's a very good first sector as well for Kuba Brzezinski. It's exactly just over a 10th off. Oh, spin.
Oh, that's the number 8 car, is it not? Have I got it right this time? At the end of the lap, is that Stavolo down the bottom of the hill? It is that, with the 2 helicopters in the back before you come back on the run towards Blanchimont. Let's pick up the number on this car as he comes towards us. It's the number 8 car, so personal best through the first sector and then puts it into the wall. Now, what will the damage be with that? Will that incur damage? That was a hefty hit.
Yeah, and it will take time to go and fix that as well. So, you know, let's have a
replay.
look. Yeah.
Replay. Oh, sideways on the way in, onto the curb, and just couldn't gather it back up. Now, I've got to say that could have possibly been dealt with just a little bit better, getting out of the throttle and realising that the lap time is gone. Let's not do anything silly, but yeah, the car bounces off the end of the curb and then pitches him into the wall.
Carried too much speed. The Floyd by Collis burst team on the podium last time. Jone Simoncic is on a flyer in the number 4. He's gone purple through the first sector. We'll see what he does now through the second. And here they are, the yellow and black colours for the Floyd by Collis team. Incredibly consistent at the first round, so this is a real team to watch this season. They were very quick in the 24-hour race last year as well, got a podium there too. So Floyd by Collis, we go on board without Jone Simoncic, big name in esports as well, has won a huge amount in his time. Let's see what he can do on this lap. He has to find 0.3 of a second.
Backed up by Tom Dillman and Jesper Pedersen in towards the bus stop. Let's see him there. He's on the right-hand side of the screen. Look at him lift himself up as he hits that brake pedal for all he's worth. Looking through the corner, back towards the left-hand side. I'm steering with him here as we come out the corner. Up towards the line. Pop, pop, pop. Couple of gears for Simoncic. Where does this put him in the standings? He goes up one place from P4 to P3.
And look, it's getting close, isn't it? 0.2 of a second, less than 0.2 between the top two. Bono House has just gone up into 4th place as well for Team Redline. So good driving there for Bono House. 7th they were at the first round. They'll be looking to improve on that this time. Erhan Yajovski in the number 8 is now 5th. Then it's Ottaviani in the number 6 then, who is next along. In the 65, sorry, who is 6th place.
Look at that last lap from Rietveld there. His personal best sector 1 purple through sector 2. He's up the top of Le Radion just now, heading up the Kemmel Straight. This could be a gauntlet getting thrown down to everybody with 7 minutes of the session remaining. And Jajovski, well, he will really be ruining that error that he made at the exit off, or the entrance to Stavolo just now, still in the pit lane with damage repair getting done to that car. But as we pick back up with the man who currently sits on pole position, provisionally, 0.2 of a second up the road from the 22 car, and then we've got the 4 car, the Floyd by Collis car, the burst car, which looks identical to the race car. I'm a big fan of that, and you never know, Collis might think about, let's just go P2 racing, let's see how we get on with that as they come down towards the middle part of the lap. Nobody using the Red Bull line that the GTE car was taking through there. I don't think a P2 car would enjoy that, Chris.
No, I don't think so. Red Bull were only ones brave enough to do it. I think they've got enough downforce, haven't they, going through Pouhon. So yeah, I don't think they need to go off the circuit to gate anymore. Maybe on the exits you can, but this looks like a tidy lap from what we've seen so far from the number 70 as they now make their way up through the run through Blanchimont.
Yeah, on board, looking over the 2 front wheels of this prototype Le Mans car. Look, it's just a stunning, stunning view, that it really is. And he was flat there. He was never going to have a lift all the way through that in towards the last couple of corners, the bus stop. It's not a lap to write home about, but they'll head for the pit lane, I would imagine, and in they come. But that lap by Bono House, by the way, that lap from Bono House, that is a lap and a half. I'm impressed. He's come from nowhere straight up to 4th place, but we know the calibre of the man behind the wheel.
Yeah, Bono House is a really established esports driver. So, and again, they're just going to want to get some big points on the board here. They got a 7th last time, but they'll want to be challenging for a podium, you'd think, this time with the lineup they've got there at Team Redline. It is incredibly strong. So that's the one of the car with which is going to have Felix Rosenquist. That's a Kirchhoff. Bono House too. They've won plenty between them, so they've got more than enough knowledge to know how to not just win a race but win a championship as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on. Here's Axel Sports, of course, the only professional driver that they've put in for the only team running a professional driver in the session.
Nakib Aslan just now in that car as he heads round through the latter part of the lap. 5 minutes on the nose remaining in this qualifying session for the prototypes here for the 6 hours of Spa. This will be round 2 of our Le Mans Virtual Series, and every time I get a little bit excited about somebody crossing the line, because they're heading towards the pit lane.
Everyone's a bit shy, aren't they? Yeah, they don't want to be on camera.
Lap shy today. I don't know what that's all about, but up the top of the circuit we go. That's one of the cars, is it? Right in the background. The 49 car comes through our shot just now. That's the Yas Heat car.
Yeah, Yas Heat, the Dubai-based team. We'll see them now making their way up towards Pouan. They are currently down in 15th place and they are on an out lap, so we're not going to see any sectors pinging in on this lap. They'll be building up to a flyer. Here is a car that we will see some sectors coming in from. This is Nuno Pinto in the Fordzilla, and they've gone personal best through the first sector. However, they are just over a tenth slower than the quickest time of Jerne Simoncic, and you can see they're almost matching the likes of Michi Hoyer there in the 444 car, the Alpha Bicolis Burst car, as they now come down through turn number 11. This is Team Fordzilla we're on board with. Nuno Pinto, good driver, has won plenty over the years as well. We know him from the Le Mans racing. See how he gets on in the second part of his lap.
Yeah, that thing was dancing about as he went through the top of Malmedy area, the Kemmel and Malmedy corner. Look, he's corrective oversteer in the middle of the corner again. They're driving the wheels of this Fordzilla car towards the end of the lap. Stavolo as the next corner turns it in. It looks like a little bit of understeer maybe built into that as he comes through Stavolo. This will now be flat, ladies and gentlemen, until we get to the bus stop chicane. This is quick. Try and have tiny little movements on the steering wheel so you're not putting any force or any lock through those tyres to scrub off speed. Yep, flat through Blanchimont as he would be. Pick a braking marker after the bridge, definitely. Oh, he's deep on the brakes here, down the gears. He gets to his first apex, lovely. Does he make the second apex? No, he heads for the pit lane. That's just typical of the way it's going for myself and you tonight, Chris McCarthy. It's pick up the WRT car now going through the top, and let's see if they'll give us a lap finish.
Yeah, Arnie Skoonvele, let's see what he can do on this lap. Of course, you know, we mentioned, you know, that the dramas that they had on that first round when they lost the rear wing of that car.
Ruined the race, didn't it? It completely ruined the race, and WRT will be a team that want to come back a bit like the number 8 car.
You know, it followed dramas that they had at Le Mans, didn't it? You know, they had an absolute disaster there. So
we saw the interview that Martin Haven did with Louis Delatraz. Let's not go there. It was heartbreak personified. It really was a terrible, terrible thing to see. But you're right. Yeah, when bad luck follows you about, it kind of does follow you about.
Just for a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Let's hope he can shake it off. Drive fast, act faster. That's a Ferdinand Habsburg initiative on the WRT car as they come through Stavolo. And yeah, if this was a motorbike, you tuck everything in now and just tiny little movements again. We all know now that they're flat out through Blanchimont, but it's still a corner and a half as he comes through. He's 2/10 down as he comes towards the end of the lap, and that 2/10, it might actually move him up.
Put him on the second row.
Yeah, well do. Into the bus stop chicane. Does he get the apex? Yes. Does he get a second apex? Yes. Thankfully, he's going to continue the lap and finich for us. As we see number 31 carries in currently 7th place as he crosses the line. That moves him up just now into no improvement, actually.
No.
And that's a shame.
Not the best.
That's a shocker, that, actually. I thought there was going to be an improvement there. Lost a bit of time at the bus stop.
Well, in the back at Monza, we didn't really see any improvements when we got to the latter few minutes of the session. Everyone had seemed to have called it a day, and I'm starting to think we might see something similar. We've got, what's that, 1, 2, 3, there's about 10 cars on an outlap currently. So they're building up for one last flyer. They've come out the pits, they're going to do the warm-up lap, and they're going to get one more flyer before the session is done. So this is where we will see drivers risking absolutely everything going into the likes of Lekon.
Marcel Chinchink, he will risk absolutely everything right now as he comes up the top of the Radeon, and we can see him there on board, and we can also see his camera back, and that's the great man behind him on the wall, if I'm not mistaken. That looks very much like Ayrton Senna behind him, and that will be giving him a good bit of get up and go towards this lap. And look at the direction change on that car there, Chris McCarthy. That was sensational.
Absolutely chucking it into the corners, isn't he? We said they're going to have to throw everything at it, come through Lekon, and they certainly did that, and it's rewarded them with a personal best sector. However, it's probably about a 10th away from where they want to be, so they could do with making up a little bit of time here to go through to get themselves onto pole position. They finished exactly where they are currently running in qualifying last time. The top 3 are exactly how they finished last time. That was our podium, the top 3 currently in qualifying, so it will be normal service resumed in terms of this series so far.
And if I'm not mistaken, this will be the GPX Rebellion Williams car, and this has been a good lap to watch. But like you say, some personal best is the checkered flag now flies here at Spa for the end of the prototype qualifying. He's got the bus stop to do, and so much can be lost or won at the bus stop. Let's see how he gets through this one with these last couple of the right and then the left, then the dash towards the flag. He's laying the brakes. Does he get it in? Yes, he does. Look at the force he turns that in there.
Run a bit wide, I think, into the end. It's going to hurt him on the exit now.
Personal best for Chinchenk. What does he do as he goes across the line? Is it an improvement in time? Oh, he misses out by 600ths of a second. Chris, what a lap that was we just witnessed.
I think he lost time through the final chicane there. It looked like he was far too narrow going through the left, and that hurts him on the exit, but we're not done yet.
We're very much not done. That was a very sideways attempt at coming out from the bus stop as well. That was Ottaviani there in the 65 car, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And that's another place where you can lose time. It looks good, but it's just not quick enough.
We've got the number 5, Williams, on an improvement as well. And I think this is them. We just picked them up coming up towards the line now. Let's see what they do as they get across the line. They do make an improvement up to 5th. Good driving. Good last lap there from the number 5.
They will be delighted with that one there. Burliak getting a really good lap towards the end there, and we only caught up on that right at the end there, Chris, when you were pointing at the computer screen. It was a little bit under the radar, but it is that lap by Jeffrey Reitfeld, right? And was it the middle part of the session, or did he done that?
Bono House got up to
third so he did.
As well, yeah. So a good improvement from the red line car as well. We said, you know, that they were going to be trying to go for a podium this time after finishing in 7th last time, and there we go, Bono House in 3rd, so that breaks the top 3 that we had from last race in qualifying. So the top 2 remain exactly the same as they finished last time, but Bono House is 3rd, Yone Simic is 4th, and a good time from the number 5. They're one of the 5 teams that did not finish, i.e. they have 0 points on the board. So they'll be very, very relaxed now that they've had that. They'll be carrying a lot of confidence after a good result like that.
And what did we talk about? You just want to get points on the board, but you also want to have a really, really good qualifying day, qualifying time. But when momentum, as I said, mid-session, when momentum's going for you and everything's going right, you know, they've had a win at round number 1, they've now qualified pole on round number 2.
I mean, we had some surprises. I mean, Cuba Brzezinski down in 10th. I mean, they were a team that moved forward last time. I didn't really expect them to be out the top 10. Risto Capit, Dennis Jordan, you know, we've got a real quick section of cars there. You know, it's so high. Just to get in this championship was, you know, if you could get in it, you've done a good job. But then now to race in it is even harder. And, you know, wherever you finish, it's going to be close, isn't it? So there's full of talent, this field, and yeah, I think we've got some ones to watch down the field there.
We surely have. Tom, our director, said he was fast. He did a 2:11 earlier on. I beat him with a 2:09, and I thought I was quick. 1:57.4 fastest time. I think we've got a bit of work to do, Tom. Sorry for throwing under the bus, but let's have a look at the results now for the end of the prototype qualifying, and we can bring you them right away. As again we look at some glorious weather conditions in the Ardennes Forest. It is the real team Hydrogen Redline on pole position again from GPX Rebellion Williams, and Team Redline 1, 2, 3 in 3rd position. Floyd Colley's burst in 4th with Williams Esport in 5th, and the man that Chris tipped for pole, R8G Esports team, down in 6th place, and it's gonna hurt them a bit, but momentum could come back towards the end. Also Panis with a good qualifying position. And those 2 teams both need to get good results here at Spa to do anything in the championship. It's too early to talk about the championship, Chris, but they need to start getting points.
It's just the mentality, isn't it? You want to get points on the board. So but yeah, you can see how close it is all the way down, but they'll be relieved, I think, to have those good qualifying results come in. But you know, some usual faces at the top, and Team Redline, you know, the big powerhouse that is, that brought Lando Norris and Max Verstappen to the 24-hour last year, up in 3rd place.
So we see the results there. Cracking stuff. You're back in the studio. Well, I enjoyed that's my first ever Le Mans virtual qualifying session for both of them, the GTE Pro and for that prototype session. One thing I did notice about the prototype, so they didn't really finish that many laps from what I see. So the drivers obviously know if they're on a good one, or they know if they want to just pit. Yeah,
that was the case at the last round. In Monza, we saw them go out. They set some really good times, and you know, the first part of the session was really, really exciting, very close, quite intense, but then it kind of dialed off. So I guess that they know they'd extracted the most out of the car, and then they called it a day. So, but saying that, you know, Bonner House got up to third right at the end. So, you know, it's never over until it's over. We can see some changes late in the day. We don't just see as many as we might do in, say, GTE.
And Bono's only a tenth of a second off the fastest time as well, less than a tenth of a second from Rietveld to Chinchink as well. But the fastest first sector, I'm always one that looks at the fastest first sector, especially at Spa, because that's where it comes from, Eau Rouge and Radeon. So we see Simoncic there in fourth with the fastest first sector. That's yeah. So you take those brave pills and pull down on those seatbelts just a little bit, Chris.
Yeah, great result for them to get up into fourth place. They were right in contention. If you're within that top five, you know, you've got a good chance of coming into the pit stop after your first stint and being in the lead. And Jerne Simoncic, very, very quick on that lap there. So
now we have a little look at some results on our big screen.
Yep, here we go. So it's a real-time hydrogen red line then, who are fastest. Look at that, less than a tenth of a second behind them. GPX Rebellion Williams. Team Red Line up in third. Floyd by Collis Burst. Very good at the first round in fourth place. Then Williams are going to be in fifth place. No points on the board for them. Be annoyed at me that they keep reminding everyone of that. R8G, great session for them in sixth place. And we have the Alpha by Collis Burst team in seventh. Panis Racing, who need a good result here, eighth. WRT likewise in ninth place. Rebellion, GPX Esports. Any one of those teams could win. That's how close it is. Red Bull Racing in 11th. R8G in the 18th, 12th. Then Team Fordzilla 13th. Mal next along. Then Yassi, Race Clutch Alpine, Axel, Jota, ARC, and Rocket Sim Sports. And I think there's just one more that will round out our LMP classification, and then we will be into GTs, and that's, well, here we are, GTs.
BMW Team Redline on pole position for that, and then the 92 Porsche Esports team in second. Proton Competition 88 and 77 alongside each other, and then the Porsche Esports team down in 91 and 25th. BMW Team BS in there as well. As we look further down, the Ferrari, we talked about the Ferrari not having a good qualifying down there in 10th overall and 30th in the actual combined grid. GR Wolves, let's see how they get on when they're racing from the Molyneux. The Tesla R8G Esports Team 34th, D-Station 35th, GR Wolves Racing number 87 is 36. Simsa Esports in 37th in the 66 car, and then Race Clutch Alpine number 14 all the way down with no time set, Chris. So bit of a disaster for Race Clutch Alpine there just now. So a fabulous qualifying session there for both classes. Both classes coming together, and a little bit of damage for the R8 car, which they will want to fix. Eran Yohowski will not be happy with that, but they've qualified, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, they've given themselves a chance for tomorrow, you know, and they can go in tomorrow with a little bit of confidence, can't they? So, yeah, I think one thing we've seen there, we've got half a second between 10 cars.
Yeah.
It's going to be close, isn't it? Bring it on.
How tight do you like it? Well, thank you very much for joining us. I do hope you will be with us tomorrow. It's a 12:30 broadcast with a 1 o'clock race start for the Le Mans Virtual for the 6 hours of Spa. I've loved this. It's been great. It's my first qualifying session. Thank you very much, Chris McCarthy.
Yeah, well, don't tune out, though, because, of course, we've got the Cup race coming up next. And the top two drivers from that series we are going to see racing at the Autosport show as well. So don't go anywhere. We're going to be back in just a second. Lewis McGlade will be in that chair, and the Le Mans Cup race will be on.
Thank you.
The Le Mans Virtual Cup comes next, the championship which you can compete in, anyone can compete in, and if you're in the top 2 by the end of the championship, you will join us at the Autosport Show to race in the Le Mans Virtual 24 Hours. An absolutely fantastic initiative. We saw 500 drivers compete last time. I'm sure we're going to see even more competing this time. We're not going to see 500 cars racing around Spa. We are going to just see the top 30 that have qualified for this race. 3 rounds. At the end of the 3 rounds, the top 30 will go into the 4th round, and then the top 2 at the end of the whole series, when all the points are collated together, will go to the 24-hour race. And alongside me is Lewis McGlade. Lewis, it was a very, very good first race, wasn't it? And we really saw that, you know, these were guys that were fighting for a place in something, weren't they? The racing was absolutely fierce. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. We obviously jumped in a little bit later in that one. We missed the start, but the thing was, with the race, it was chaotic all the way throughout. We did catch wind from a couple of drivers that it was a bit chaotic at the start. These are standing start races. Now, at Monza, there's a long run down to turn 1. Here at Spa, less so. Nice tight run down into La Source, and then the run up, of course, Eau Rouge, No Rivage. I think we're going to see plenty of drama again, but obviously the qualifying order, we've now got a little bit of a form book, not too much. It was a chaotic round at Monza. Luca Di Melio taking the race victory there. I think he's got a good chance to repeat that, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, he's going to start in 5th. Obviously, we'll bring you the full grid, but different cars to what we've seen so far. They're going to be in the LMP3 car.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a hard car to drive. Around about 420 brake horsepower, weighs about 900 kilos, so it's quite light, and a decent amount of power, V8 in the back, but this thing pumps out a decent amount of torque. It is tricky to drive, quite low on downforce. If you compare it to a P2 or even a P1, a lot less downforce, and it makes it a little bit of a dance around a circuit like this, especially around here. I mean, at Monza, again, a difficult circuit, very stop and start, very, very tricky. But when you're dealing with high-speed corners, when you're dealing with running through places like Pouhon and stuff, this car genuinely is tricky. And anyone who's taking top 5, top 10 in this, they deserve to be on the grid, because these are some of the hardest circuits that you can come across.
And, you know, last time, of course, it's a 45-minute race. We went and did some investigating. We were told that there's going to be a stop, and then only 2 driver stops, and the one that did made the wrong call. It is a race to the flag, flat out, all the way. So we're not going to be dealing with pit stops. We're going to go off that, because last time there was no stops. They all ran right to the end. We thought we'd go and do some digging. We were thrown under the bus completely with people telling us there will be a stop. That's not the case. It was simply because those drivers put the wrong amount of fuel in their car, so they weren't able to get to the end.
It's kind of, so this is obviously, with it being a brand new championship, a brand new series for not only us, but also the drivers as well. And they were even surprised by some of this, because basically the way they work through the qualifying format, and this sets the grid, is they go through a pre-qualifying. So all of the drivers must essentially qualify for each round. It's the top 30, as you said, that was 500 drivers in round 1. It's the top 30 of those that go through into the race that we're going to watch in a few moments' time. It's not a lot of drivers, of course, from such a large collection. It just means that they're setting their qualifying in that session. Now, when it comes to further rounds in the championship, to constantly deliver at that level, so difficult.
Yeah, you've got to always be in that top 30, really, because you get a set amount of points just for getting into the top split. So the points are the same in each race. However, they then change. If you're in the top split, you get a set amount of points wherever you finish, and that's the idea with always trying to be in the top split. So we've got the drivers that finish 1st and 2nd in this race. They're starting in the top 5. Janos Brashok, who finished 7th in the first round, he's starting 7th. So you do need to carry some form, because by the end of the next round, the top 30 are going to be decided. They're going to be going into that super final, which is then going to give us the top 2 overall. So incredibly exciting stuff. Consistency is very, very key in a championship like this. And of course, they're fighting for that prize to be in the 24-hour race at the Autosport Show. So, and you at home can go and get it. If you've got R Factor 2, go and compete for the next round. You can do as many qualifying laps as you want, and wherever you qualify, you will be racing. Only the top 30 is the ones we're going to see. I think we're about to go live. So, predictions for the race?
I'm going to go, I think it's D'Amelio. I think D'Amelio is going to come. I think he's starting for about 4th position in this. I think he's going to come through from my stats last time. I got to remind myself. I think he started for about 8th position last round, but obviously dodged some of the chaos. I think from the position that he's in, potentially might even be leading into Les Combes. We're going to see a big slipstream battle down there.
They're all in the same car, so it's a level playing field. It's not like what we've seen in GTEs where they're in different cars, so the cars are going to work slightly differently. Or the Corvette's going to have more of an advantage, for example. These are LMP3 cars. They're all exactly the same. I think what the Le Mans Virtual Cup has done is it's given everyone the exact same chance of making it to the Autosport show for the 24-hour race.
Yeah, and it's not even just about that. Of course, that's an amazing prize about getting inside the top 2 at the end and being guaranteed a position at the 24-hour Le Mans Virtual. However, this is still a series, even for those drivers who haven't, who didn't take part in round 1, or even those that didn't take part in round 2 as well. This is still an opportunity for them to prove themselves to any number of teams, and that can be for this season, that can be for a team right now, that can be for a team slightly more distant in the future. It's races like this on a show like this where you prove yourself.
Yeah, we saw drivers in that last round who recognizable names in the esports world, and we're going to show you them now because I believe they're lining up on the grid. Right, here we go then. So Janos Brashok is going to be to the left of screen, Sean Arnold to the right, who got a DNF last time, so he's going to be wanting to go and get a win this time. We are away for 45 minutes around Spa as they go. Oh no, Sean Arnold's been tagged there. I think that might have been by Jimmy Nisula or Luca D'Amelio, and already we have an incident, unfortunately, here at round number 2. The yellow flags are out, and Sean Arnold, I think, just about got away with that one there in the all-black livery. So, well, he had a DNF at the first round. It was almost a disastrous start. Oh, no, another incident there. Coming up Radion, unfortunately, one of the cars has spun, and we're having drivers go off all over the place now, unfortunately. But 30 LMP3 cars going up a Rouge and Radion, sometimes it's not always going to end very well, especially after a quick start. But most drivers who have kept a clean pair of heels going around just fine here as we go around on the first lap, Lewis.
We need to get a bit of confirmation there. I think the car that was spun around at turn 1 might well have been, actually it wasn't. I was going to say it was Luca D'Amelio because it's one of the BHK Esports cars. It certainly wasn't. He still manages to hang on into 3rd position. Janos Brashok, though, holding on to the lead of the race with Sean Arnold, wasn't spun around from behind. I think it was actually Jimmy Nisula, as we'll see. I think that might be Darius Andre diving it down the inside. That was a pretty bold move, might actually be a bit lower than that. Either way, Brashok leading, but not by much.
Yeah, Brashok leading by just over 1/10 of a second. As we said, we're expecting this to be full throttle all the way to the flag. This is the 2nd round of the Le Mans Virtual Cup. We are already underway. If you've just joined us, this is the first lap of the race, 45 minutes to the flag. And here is Sean Arnold, who currently runs in 2nd place. We want to get some big points on the board at this round after not finishing. Don't forget, only the top 2 goes through. So to get into that top 2, you need to be taking race wins and you need to be incredibly consistent. D'Amelio there, one thing he did well, he's in 3rd place in the purple livery. One thing he did well at the first round was just keep out of trouble and played the long game. And Luca D'Amelio now challenging Sean Arnold here as we come up towards the first corner. And looking to the right of screen there, that is Luca D'Amelio now as we make our way in towards La Source. Sean Arnold going slightly defensive, but they've got to be careful, Lewis, that they don't let Brashok get away.
Yeah, and that is exactly what they're doing right now by just even halting each other's progress. It is allowing Janos Brashok just to make a decent amount of space to those behind, and Sean Arnold might well be under a fair amount of pressure here as Luca D'Amelio, I don't think, is going to wait around. Coming through the camel curve up to Les Combes, there was chaos here on the first lap of the race. However, this seems a bit cleaner. Already to the outside, heading into Les Combes. Looks good for Luca D'Amelio, but he's got to get it done on the brakes, and they're going to be side by side. There might well be a brush between them. I think D'Amelio is going to get through. There's the contact, and the Italian gets to 2nd.
Good move from D'Amelio. We had a yellow flag out briefly as well, so we've had dramas further down the field. Here's a replay of the start. There we can see that was where we saw Jimmy Nisula. That was the contact there, of course. That all happened behind. Jimmy Nisula and Davide Arduni have both dropped down the order, so both of those involved, it's likely that was Nisula and Arduni coming together as they've now dropped well down the order. We can't even see them on the screens. Unfortunately, Ashenko and Whitehouse, I think, have also hit dramas as well, because they are quite far back from the rest of the field. Nisula's down in 24th, and we also have someone already retiring for the race. Varkonyi, unfortunately, has already had to retire from the race in the number 30.
Massive shame for George Whitehouse, though, because after what we described as a very, very good round one, moving up inside the top 10.
I think he came from 28th to 9th, didn't he? It was an incredibly good drive. So I think it was from 29th or 30th even. It was from pretty much dead last. George Whitehouse came up. Yellow flag in sector 2. So we've had someone else go off. I don't think this is bad for Sean Arnold. He has just dropped to 3rd, but I don't think this is a bad thing. He can try and tuck in behind D'Amelio now, who can try and drag him up to Braxok, who leads. We've got a move being made just ahead of us. That's a change for might be 6th place as they now come out of the bus stop and make their way down the start-finish straight. This looks like battling just outside of the top 10, all kicking off. So every position counts here at Spa, and on board with Kalashai, who tries to go down the inside there. Move unsuccessful that time. He's got Maki Yupi just ahead of him here. So this is your fight for a 10th place now as we make our way down towards Eau Rouge. This is going to look terrifying if they're side by side. They're not. They just tuck in behind each other in time for Eau Rouge to become now up ruddy on, and a bit of a sideways moment there from Kalashai, and that's going to leave him under pressure from Scowron.
Yeah, I will say that was a beautiful catch, because that could have ended in tears. I think Scowron's going to be able to get through and pass, but to be honest, it could have been race over. That's actually not the case, as I think he's going to keep him at bay. And Kalashai is able to hang on to 11th position a little bit further down as the battles continue. It's kind of what we expect here, the battle for 21st and 22nd position. Naturally, battles, you say every point matters, and this one between Demori and Stevens, absolutely nothing between them.
Yeah.
They're going to be fighting for it as hard as they can, and why not?
Yeah, they were. Hemmingson and DeLorme were also side by side as well, so Hemmingson and DeLorme may have swapped places. It might have been Hemmingson taking that 8th place from DeLorme, so good points if you can get inside that top 10. It is very, very close for 4th place, I have to say. Rui Andre is under a lot of pressure here from Hoopveld, and we've got Popo as well, and Vinisulo also in that fight now as they've come out of Huon. This is Tom Stevens we are going to jump on board with. He was way down the field after qualifying, but he's managed to gain himself 4 places in this race so far. We will go through the top 10 the next time they cross the line. You can see the positions to the left-hand side of your screen. That gives you an idea of who is where. If you are cheering on any drivers, do use the hashtag Le Mans Virtual. Let us know who you're supporting. Feel free to send your comments in and any questions, but use that hashtag Le Mans Virtual. Let us know who you're cheering for in Le Mans Virtual Cup. Do you think you're going to see that driver at the Autosport Show in January at the 24-hour of Le Mans Virtual? Give us your thoughts on social media, on Twitter and on Facebook, as we now make our way down towards La Source one more time. And Braxok has a lead of 1.6 seconds, but this is the fighting down the just outside of the top 10 we are seeing here, Lewis, as we had a car rejoin. That might have been from a pit lane, and that's caused a yellow in the first sector. So that was one of the drivers, sadly, who would have hit problems, and I think that might have been George Whitehouse, and Kevin Cadas as well, unfortunately, has had a bad start to the race. But this is our leader, Braxok, doing good so far. If you're him, what are you thinking at this stage, Lewis?
Run. Run. I mean, Janis Braxok didn't have the worst round last time. Didn't have a great round. Started pretty high up in the race. Unfortunately, through a couple of issues in the early stages, we were seeing him. If people are going to rise up the order, someone's got to drop down, and certainly did indeed. Down to 7th position with Braxok. I
think we've lost someone inside the top 10 there. Someone has had a little bit of a nightmare. Because it was Hemmingson and DeLorme were fighting for 8th and 9th, and now they fight all of a sudden for 7th and 8th. So we'll try and investigate that one, but it looks like we've had someone else drop down the order. I don't know if that was Denis Shenko that might have hit problems. We're looking here in the midfield. This is your battle for 12th place. So this is Scalron and Zitello as they now come down into the right-hander. This is at turn number 15. Now through Stavolo we go. But I think maybe we've seen a change there. But what we know now is Hemmingson is 7th and Delorme is 8th, and they continue to run fairly close together. Hemmingson has just got a little bit of a jump. Oh dear, almost contact there just before the entry to Blanchimont. They're going to go side by side through Blanchimont. A bit of track limits, I think, needing to be used there. There was no other way around that as we now come side by side into the bus stop, and that looks like a move complete, but that's just going to allow those 3 cars behind Lewis to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, our main focus there was on Gogo Baldi there, who was way over on the brakes as a couple of cars enter the pit lane in the background. Yeah, it was a little bit of a dive. Speaking of dives, there is one, and there's too much power.
That's a replay.
Showing the P3 is so difficult to drive.
That was from the last lap. I think that might have been as well, because we did see a car at that exact point spin in that exact place. Pastorino has had to come through pit lane, by the way, in the number 27. So a real shame for Pastorino. As I said, they'll still get those points for being in the race alone. They've just got to finish to get a little bit more points as we are side by side into Lecom.
Yeah, that was Gogo Baldi trying to make that one stick as we refocus a bit further back down the order. Gogo Baldi quite close to making the move done on Harada there, and I think actually did make the move stick. At the moment, though, at the front, we're not missing any action because Janos Bakshok is far enough ahead. He's clear by 1.6 seconds. Sean Arnold's just behind by a further 7/10, but then they've got quite a large gap back to Darius Andre, who's not really under too much pressure from Christopher Hogwell. My point is that the gaps at the front are actually fairly sizable, fairly comfortable. And if you're the likes of Janos Bakshok, Luca D'Amelio, even Sean Arnold, the positions they're in right now, I wouldn't want to risk it too much. I'm happy with first, second or third. Maybe Sean Arnold needs to get on with it a little bit after Monza, but still.
This is Martin Merguli, who we go on board with now. Martin Merguli trying to get himself a position as they come down through campus towards 13 and 14. It's a little bit closer behind that, isn't it? As this might be Jimmy Nasula trying to make his way back up the order. Of course, having had an absolute disastrous start to the race, had that incident at turn number 1. Not the way you want to get a race started. So Jimmy Nasula we pick up on the recovery here. Now trying to get himself up the order, and he can get a place going up towards bus stop chicane. Can Nasula pick him up? See the rear view camera now, and Nasula's going to try and look to the outside, or he's going to sell the dummy and go for the inside. Wasn't quite able to make the move, and Nasula has to stay put for now. This is your battle between Merguli and 21st. Nasula we now go on board with 22nd.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the VHK cars that was sent around at turn 1, but quite clearly there you can see the VRS sponsorship over it. That is indeed Satellite Racing, and that is indeed Jimmy Nasula. The thing is, got decent pace. That was quite evident going through the pre-qualifying. Had been up there in 4th position, technically 3rd once we got rid of Arduini, who, by the way, is a bit of a note as to why, if you were watching and maybe were doing the timesheets and wondering where Arduini is, because he did pre-qualify in 3rd position and also had a podium last time out with 2nd position at Monza. Not here today because he's racing in the Le Mans Virtual Series, so we'll actually see him out in action tomorrow afternoon. But right now our focus on this race, and it is fairly relentless as we were expecting. It's kind of what we saw last round out at Monza, where it just doesn't give up. We're back with Juha Mäki-Jypi, with Remy Delorme and of course Dana Koloshai at the rear end of this train, running a little bit wide there at corner with no name. And the thing is with that, if you do that too many times, race control aren't going to ping you, the game will, and that will give you a drive-through penalty. If there's a track you don't want to drive through, it's around here.
Yes, so we look at Delorme. We were on board with Merguli there, and 8th of the first round, so we'd expect Merguli to be running around where we are watching now here in the battle for 8th place. Very, very close, isn't it? Just in and around the top 10. Incredibly close part of the field. The gap between your 2 leaders is coming down, by the way. It's down from what once was 1.7 to now 1.4 seconds. So that's something we will keep an eye on as the race progresses. So Luca D'Amelio playing the long game, I think they're just trying to take bit by bit, but we go on board with Kalashai, who's fighting here with Delorme, trying to get himself into the top 10, and he's going to chuck it down the inside into the bus stop. Good racing room given by Delorme. I think Kalashai just getting it slightly wrong on the brakes, but stay as they are. I guess into the bus stop sometimes isn't the best place. Sometimes it's better to wait for that cap straight and then make a move. And we're on board with Delorme looking back at Kalashai, but that isn't the only driver that's behind. Oh, we've had someone spin, I think, coming out of La Source. I saw a static car briefly. And I'm not so sure if that's someone that's just turned round coming out of the first corner. We'll find out if it has happened, but we're going to go to a battle a little bit further down the field now as they make their way down through Eau Rouge.
Yeah, Jimmy Nasula, of course, once again looking back on his march back up the grid on the rear end of Martin Moguli. Might try and make this one done into Les Combes, but in a similar sense to making a move at somewhere like the bus stop, it might be a little bit too predictable, and so in that sense, easy to cover off. We'll see if Jimmy Nasula can get this one done. Moguli on the inside, Nasula on the outside, committed on the brakes, going around there, firing it in, sending it as hard as he can. There is going to be a bit of a brush between them, running into Malmedy, and this time advantage will swing the way again of Jimmy Nasula all the way around the outside. I thought that one might go to Moguli, but by the time they get down to Bruxelles, it is advantage to the satellite car.
Good driving from Nasula. I mean, he would have been getting incredibly impatient there. This is a driver that started in 4th. He finished 13th at the first round, and all of a sudden he finds himself in 21st position. So now he's going to want to go and get after Damori, as Lewis said, straight away, and then Stevens comes next after that. So there is places to be made. There is the gap to the driver ahead. The driver ahead is in the light blue livery, just to left of screen, now making their way round towards turn number 15 into Stavelot. We're going to look back towards the leaders, though, because we did say the gap was 1.4. It is now 1.3. This is Sean Arnold we are looking at in 3rd place. So he is only 1 second behind Luca D'Amelio. So D'Amelio, who's 1.3 back from Braxock, is not alone. He has company. And look at all those cars in the background. 1, 2, 3, 4. Andre Hoekveld, Vinisulo, and then Hemmingson as well. Hemmingson having done a great job, having got past Delorme and Maki Yupi up until 7th. Now closing in, I'd say Hemmingson is potentially one to watch in that fight in the number 10. He's closed those guys down. There's no way, there's no reason he can't go through and take 4th place.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, I'm looking at the lap times right now, and this is where things will be a little bit concerning. These cars, because of their difficulty to drive, they can eat the tyres a little bit. It's certainly more so than we had back at Monza. And no, I'm not expecting a pit stop. So the description as to why we're expecting a pit stop as Monza was because of the fuel they were qualifying on. We weren't sure if they were going to be doing it on the race or whatever. It was 50 litres, as far as I remember, locked in qualifying, whereas they were able to use more in the race. As we'll take a look at this move just a little bit further down the order. No move there to be seen as Leonardo Puppo not able to get by Harada. But right now it's a focus on tyres. The top guys, their fastest lap of the race was a low 2-minute 13. They're currently running in the mid 2-minute 13s, and the thing is, everyone else behind them basically is running around about the 2-minute 14s. So it shows that they are keeping control of their tyres, at least for now. We are only 17 minutes into this race. There is still so much time, and if you're overcooking them now, it builds and builds and builds.
I mean, I guess they couldn't have learned a lot from the Monza race because it's a completely different circuit.
Yeah,
so this is almost like a complete reset, isn't it?
In a sense, I mean, Spa's one of those circuits that some drivers go really, really well on. I mean, you can compare it in that sense. We've got specialists of some tracks, Monte Carlo, circuit specialists of the Nordschleife. I mean, we've got plenty of those.
That's going to be interesting, isn't it?
That would be a bit too much, really. But, you get all these circuit specialists. Spa is one of those circuits where you have the specialists on, and some drivers go well here. Some drivers love it. I mean, I love Spa. I'm terrible here as we see a bit of a moment there from Darius Andre.
Big moment, isn't it?
Not the first one.
A little bit of pressure there, but as I say, the likes of Hemmingson and Vinciulo behind as well. Both of those guys are quicker than the two ahead, so their lap times are quicker, and they're actually doing very quick lap times. I have to say, they're quicker than the leaders. Vinciulo and Hemmingson both lapping as quick, if not quicker, than the leaders. The car third in queue in the blue and black livery is the one to watch in that queue, in the number 6. Keep an eye on Vinciulo as we look a little bit further back down the field. Now, is this Nasula? It is, trying to get on the move once more. So Nasula has caught his next victim, which is Demori. I'd say this is going to be very similar to the move we saw last time if Demori is going to make it difficult for him. And Nasula should just be an easy pass here because Demori has no toe ahead of him, so he's a bit of a sitting duck here, and Nasula is going to pull left and should be ahead by the time they get towards Lacombe, and that's another place made, and he needs to keep going at this pace, doesn't he? You know, that took 4 minutes. If he does make the move, no, he's going to have to go all the way around the outside. Nasula being brave, and Nasula is rewarded with 19th place on the exit. So again, almost a carbon copy of the move we saw last time. But he's got to be very quick in the moves that he makes if he wants to get decent points here, Lewis. Yeah,
team boss Matt Strand will look at that and think that was a decent move, 2 laps in a row. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think he'd want that to be a bit higher up the grid, but still, Jimmy Nasula's doing everything he can to try and work it back up, as there's a big moment there from Demori, who's into the barrier out of the corner with no name, and he'll drop back and back and back. A big shame there. So easy to do. Just overcooking it out of that corner. The curbs around here are so high, and in a car like this, you want to say, I mean, you brought it up in qualifying. We were speaking of how the Red Bull Racing Esports car was using a fairly insane amount of grass on the run into Pouon, and then, of course, Duncan brought up the fact that the P2s don't do it, because the P2s are so much more sensitive.
Talk us through this, Lewis.
I think it's just going to be a little bit too much curb. Oh, there we go. Too much curb on the left-hand side, and it just unsettled it. Accelerating. I wasn't expecting it to be there. By this point, the suspension is already done. Whilst it may not be the most visual damage, it was a little bit. The suspension, once it goes, it goes. And if it's the, I mean, speaking of this at Monza, if one of your rear suspension goes, it's impossible to drive.
Now, Vinciulo's come into the pits. That's strange. He was lapping faster than anyone. So clearly, that tells me that he wasn't looking after, he basically wasn't looking after his tyres, and this is all part of the plan. Unless he's picked up a knock somewhere, because he was in a fight for 4th place. Well, but I don't see any gaps being largely extended in that order. So I find that one quite strange, actually, that we've seen him come in. You never know. They all might follow him into the pits. But Demori's obviously had to come into the pits after that spin, but yeah, that's a bit of a strange one, and that's going to move up Hookfeld up into, he's going to remain 5th. Hemmingson is now going to be in 6th place. Hemmingson, who didn't race in the top 30 last time. Then we're going to have Makiyupi in 7th. All going well for Kalasai as well, who is currently in 8th place. He was on the podium last time, so already we're seeing championship battles emerge, because we've got Kalasai in 8th. However, then we've got Janos Braksok having had a 7th and what could be a 1st. So him, Braksok, and also Luca D'Amelio, they're all going to be fairly close in the points.
It was, so to go back to Vinciulo, of course Demori is entered the pit lane for damage repair, not anything strategical. With Vinciulo though, I wonder if this is the same thing that happened to Jimmy Nasula last round, because of course Jimmy Nasula was running in a decent position, but for whatever reason, you know, setting it up, getting into it, these are all running fixed setups, just to clarify to those sat at home. Wondering if there's setup differential. It's not. This is all about the driver. They're running a fixed setup at the moment. The only thing they can change is things like the fuel. Now, if you've defaulted the setup or something and returned it back to qualifying, remember, in qualifying they can only run 50 litres in this car, and they need about 80 to get through the race, which you can up if you're paying attention. And everyone is, so that's fine. They all up the fuel load back up to 80, whatever is the maximum fuel load is in the car. Some people, though, if they've saved the setup wrong or done something in a certain manner, it may default it back to qualifying mode, i.e. only having 50 litres, and then they will need to pit. And I think that's exactly what's just happened there.
That's a real shame, because Vinciulo was going really well there. And you mentioned Nasula, of course, happened to him at the first round. And with what's happened here, we just haven't really been able to see the best. You know, the bad luck seems to be following him. You know, that's a fuel issue at the first round, and then being involved in that first corner incident here at the second. Really tough time for him out there, but Battles going on down the Kemmel Straight. We are watching. This is Hemmingsen trying to get past Hugfeld, and Hemmingson's going to try and go all the way around the outside here. Oh, it's Kalashai, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's contact there with what will be Makiyupi, and Makiyupi's going to fall down the order, and Kalashai's going to continue. What did you make of that one?
Yeah, a little bit over-aggressive. We'd need to take a look at that one on replay and spot our way through it once more. I mean, two drivers coming together at Les Combes. Have we seen anything more predictable? Let's see once again what happened and try and pick our way through this. Now we're expecting the contact. They're side by side here. The 12 on the inside.
That's a mistake from Kalashai.
I'm not sure if Makiyupi was coming across maybe a little bit too much and a little bit too aggressively. I know, obviously, at that point you've got to be expected that the car's going to wash out a little bit. But
I don't know. It looked to me as if he was going to spin and hit Makiyupi, kind of stops him from doing
terrible replay camera angle. Terrible.
And Makiyupi was the one who sort of was the victim of a mistake from Kalashai. It just looked like his car was, he was trying to be brave around the outside, and it was just starting to go on him. And I think he overcorrected potentially. But hey, what do I know? I probably would have done a 2:11. I was if I was out in this sim as well.
Is that what you did at 2:11?
I didn't do a time.
Did you not?
No.
Oh yeah, because you broke the sim rig. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, no, I'm with you.
You can't just give that detail. You broke the sim rig.
Well, I've got to be cool to you a little bit. I wasn't that quick either. We'll keep our eye.
Go back from that. Look at the gap between the two leaders. 1.1 seconds.
It's coming down.
1.1.
Luca Di Melio knows how to get it done at the end of a race. He knows how to time himself well.
Whoa, have some of that. Look at that. Just elbows out, to say the least here. That's Le Mans Virtual Cup racing for you. They are getting their elbows out. This is Hemmingsen and Hugfeld, who are making their way up. It is. We're on board with Hugfeld. Hemmingsen having just got by with that move at the source where he got his elbows out. But Hugfeld, who we're on board with, is going to try down the outside. It's Hugfeld to the right of your screen, and then to the left of your screen, that is now Hemmingsen as they now turn their way through Les Combes. And just about, they're going to still go side by side. Hemmingsen just about holding on. Hugfeld there trying to use all the track and more, and in the end has to back out of it. So a change for fifth. And Hemmingsen continues his charge up the order. Good position gain there from him, and he's got a chance to make another with Darius Andre just ahead. Yeah, I commentated on a race with Christopher Hugfeld around here at Spa. I think there's 5 people battling for the race lead in this championship in electric cars. And on the last lap of the race, Christopher Hugfeld, he won't like me reminding him of this, made a mistake coming out of Stavolo and spun round, pushing a little bit too hard. I think he's learnt from it. But the thing is a race like that, I would actually have said that Christopher Hugfeld maybe needed to pull out a little bit early, because Hemmingsen, there wasn't much overlap there at all. And Hemmingsen was always going to come across and nearly ended in tears. Thankfully, they both got through it, although we can just say only just. When you've got a 6.3 second gap behind you, there is no need to battle that hard,
agreed.
Is there? But when you're in the moment, I guess it's a different
Especially
thing.
not Spa.
Yeah. Well, you know, tuck in, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is Braxock. We did mention the leaders before we saw that little head-to-head between Hemmingsen and Hugfeld, and this is on board going in towards the bus stop. And Lewis says we're on board. I'm going to have to hand over to you then as we make our way down towards the first corner.
Yeah, I think we really need to keep our eye on the hands here. Watch the steering wheel as we run into La Source. Heavy on the brakes here, and just watch how many times it corrects it. Really throws in the wheel and then fires it out of the corner. Looking very, very smooth here is Janis Braxock. That was really, really nice stuff. The problem is, though, is that it might well look nice, but it's not nice enough running up into Eau Rouge and over Radion. Every time we go back to this, Di Melio's getting closer.
Last time round, okay, Sean Arnold did a 2:13.13. It was a 5 for Di Melio and a 6 for Braxock. We have a trio where the slowest driver is at the front and the quickest is at the back, and that's when you're in our position, that makes you sit up in your chair, doesn't it? It's going to be incredibly exciting. Stay with us. As we mentioned, keep those comments coming in. Use the hashtag Le Mans Virtual. Send in your comments. We're going to be using that throughout today and tomorrow. You can send in your comments and all your questions as well. Let us know who you're cheering for in Le Mans Virtual Cup. Is it one of the top 3? Who do you think's going to win? Do let us know as we look a little bit further back down the order now. Is this our battle for 10th and 11th that we are watching? It is. So it's Scouron and Zitello, and a little bit wide there for Zitello. going in towards Bruxelles, but we'll recover it on the exit as they now come through the left-hander.
Yeah, same as every corner around Spa has about 7 different names. Every corner has about 7 different lines as well. So there's plenty of opportunity to return back to time. I mean, Bruxelles is a great example of it because it's downhill, it's off camber, you can hook it in late. The problem is when you're in the battle pack, when you're around other people, that can be a little bit dangerous. If you're by yourself, you're afforded the opportunity to take the line that best suits you. Right now, I get the feeling the top 3 are all taking different lines around this track because they're all closing in. I am thrilled about it. I mean, to be fair, like, this is the whole thing with Spa. This is why Spa is so good and why the race tomorrow, I guarantee you, will be fantastic, because there's always something about Spa that towards the end of the race, everything just starts to get into 6th gear and really starts to kick off.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Everyone gets a little bit closer together. You know, people start taking a bit more risks, and I think a lot of people are staying patient, and then they just get that little bit of kick. They know that they can get in the toe. If they can get within a second and get that toe down the Kemmel Straight, all of a sudden they have a chance. And we are bunching up into the bus stop here. We are looking at Zitello in 11th place, who's trying to make a place on Scouron as they now come down towards the La Source hairpin. Great place to overtake. Scouron's going to stay ahead for the time being. Zitello we look at in the black colours. Behind this, Makiyupi, of course, had that little incident earlier. Getting closer now is Makiyupi, having been turned round at Les Combes as they now come up through Eau Rouge. Great battle to watch here, but of course it's just one of the great moments we're having in this race. Here's a replay of our leader. This is Jonas Braksok coming out of Bruxelles now and towards turn number 9, and a little bit wide there. Now, got to be careful of track limits. Got to be careful of track limits. I think what that shows, Lewis, is he is feeling the pressure.
I mean, from that, we only had a brief on board with him, of course. That was only running through La Source. The car looked comfortable. It looked like he was in control of it. And right now, I'd still maintain that's the case. If you're using, I mean, don't get me wrong, look, see them all running wide. It seems like a guy who's in control, who knows how to extend the limits of the track to its very, very limit. We'll take a look again at the start and see this chaos down into turn 1. Keep your eye left of shot, though, where you've got Jimmy Nasula, who's just going to get spun around here. I think it was just light taps and nothing major. It seems, to be honest, like one of those things.
Look in the background, though. Look at all the cars having to scatter left and right just to try and find some space. That wasn't the only instant, though, because we'd have another one here at Eau Rouge.
Yeah, not sure how many drivers get involved with this, but you had a little bit of side-by-side there, and that was always going to end in tears. Just over the toppers, you're running side-by-side, they're all slowing down, and they were all just making contact in the background, whilst all the marshals here are waving green flags. Everyone behind is getting very concerned indeed. At the front, it was quite close. Sean Arnold nearly got past Jonas Braksok, but this was as close as he got, and Braksok just started to run away, and ever since, it's started to get closer and closer again.
Yeah, that's like you say, it's the closest he's been, isn't it? And we look back, we come back to Sean Arnold now. These are the top 3. We do have a back marker ahead, so there's going to be 4 cars in this, but it's cars 2, 3, and 4 that we are focusing on. Here is Sean Arnold in the predominantly black livery. Now, is this Andre behind that's caught up with Hemmingsen? It is. So Hemmingsen was once the man, has now got himself up into 4th, but Andre is trying to fight back. So we've had a change for 4th. Darius Andre now trying to get through as they go into Les Combes. He's going to sell the dummy. Hemmingsen giving him just about enough room under braking, but Hemmingsen holds on, and the charge through the field continues for Hemmingsen. We didn't see this guy at the first round, but I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of him at the next round as well. Great driving so far, and he's got himself up into 4th place, having started 10th on the grid. Yeah,
Hemmingsen's got a decent amount of experience, but that was nearly perfection for Darius Andre. You could see the language of the car. He didn't want to go around the outside. He'd lifted off just a little bit to allow Hemmingsen to come back across, and then looked back down the inside. Had he committed a bit more, that could have been a fantastic move. As it was, just wasn't committed enough. Didn't fancy taking the quite crazy risk that would have been making sure that we can get through the race a little bit further. That battle will be on. The harder they fight, though, Christopher Hoogveld will be back a part of it, and we might well see a bit of a 3-way scrap there, like what we're going to see at the race lead, as Sean Arnold is right there with Luca D'Amelio looking a bit back down the field.
Now, this could play into the hands of Braxock here. Here we see drivers down in 25th and 24th, battling away with each other. So this is Vinciulo, of course, having done that pit stop, which we suspect means that he didn't put enough fuel in the car. And that just shows, how, Nisula did that, and we thought, was that maybe part of his plans at the first round? And it just showed how hard it was to gain any places back after it. So here is Sean Arnold, and I do think this could play into the hands of Braxock here, because D'Amelio now is going to be looking behind rather than forwards. And it looks like the tyre wear is really starting to play a part. You can see the sliding coming out of La Source there, Lewis, but D'Amelio just has to stay calm here. I think if Sean Arnold is to catch him and go by, I think he needs to remember that he won the last round. So I think he's just got to try and keep his eyes forward here, but as you can see, he's already trying to break the toe as we come down towards Lake Como. I do not think Sean Arnold's going to be close enough on this lap, but if you're Luca D'Amelio, Lewis, what do you do at this point?
I think you understand who you're fighting with here. Yanis Braxock, P7 in round 1. Sean Arnold didn't score points in round 1, with the exception of potentially the participation points. Luca D'Amelio won round 1. If he wins the race, finishes 3rd here, that's absolutely fine. That's plenty of points. He doesn't need to take any crazy risk. What I will say, though, is Sean Arnold's pace right now is absolutely crazy. Just did a 2-minute 13.199. That is nearly half a second faster than Luca D'Amelio, 3/4 ahead of Yanis Braxock. He is absolutely flying at the moment.
This is good stuff. I think Sean Arnold could have played the long game here. That's exactly what it might be. So Sean Arnold, I think we're going to see him get on the attack on this lap. And as you said, D'Amelio just needs to know who he's fighting with here. I don't think he should do anything silly. Just remember, if Sean Arnold's going to be that quick and come through, just let him do it and fight back at the end of the race if necessary. But I always say it's very easy to say that from where we are sat, as we now look at more battle. I don't think we've had a point in this race where we haven't been following a battle.
Yeah, and that's just testimony.
That doesn't always happen in races.
Well, we didn't really have any bit in Monza either, where we were away from the action. We were always looking forward to something as they're running a little bit wide.
Coming there, wasn't there, for a split second, and
not good.
It's going to be someone losing a place coming out of the corner, unfortunately. But we are watching battles all the time as Lewis does his investigating.
Yeah, trying to figure out which one it was. I think it might have been Lazzaro there, who went a little bit wide. It's so easy to do, though. When you're focused so much on the car behind, or car ahead, you can run wide very easily. Battle for 10th place on your screen. Damian Skovron with Zitiello and Maki Yupi just on the rear end of this. A little bit bad there, running through the chicane, and that is exactly why Zitiello is going to lose the position here. A little bit of contact running into La Source. He's got the inside run, though, and maybe this one might work out. Yeah,
Zitiello there, just trying to defend as best as possible, but Maki Yupi goes through, and Zitiello got a little bit sideways on the exit. We don't know if that was a simple mistake or due to contact, but whatever it was, Zitiello drops to 12th. Maki Yupi recovers, gets himself up to 11th. We didn't see him at the first round. Not someone we would expect to be fighting for those top two, but you just never know. Maki Yupi in 11th place.
Car directly behind this, by the way, was actually one that we were talking about a little bit before this. It's Gergo Baldi, who I'll be a little bit harsh on him just because I've known him for a fair while. I was expecting a little bit more out of Gergo Baldi this time, but it shows the level of driver that he is. Round 1 did not qualify very well because he didn't realise the qualifying format was actually based off of the pre-qualifying, and so he came into it, was like, well, I'm already in, so it's fine. It's like, no.
Did he really do that?
That's your position, sir. So I expected for round 2 he would put in a little bit more work into qualifying and try and work his way up. He did not.
Here's the move, Lewis.
Let's see. I mean, you're running a tight line round La Source. It's why the outside line's always the advantage. You're running a tight line, you're trying to put power down, you're going to lose the rear, especially at this point in the race. You could have afforded to do that about half an hour ago. Now, no siree.
Yes, well, you mentioned Baldi. He got that 6th place in the last time, but let's just keep an eye on those guys. The guys fighting for the top 2 now, you have to say, are Janos, not in this race. We're not talking about this race. Overall, Janos Braxock has a good chance to make it into the top 2 at this stage. 7th and a 1st if the checkered flag went out at this moment in time. D'Amelio, 1st and 2nd. Arnold, DNF 3rd, so you'd say perhaps not. Hemmingson, likewise, I wouldn't think was in the running yet. but Andre potentially could be with a 19th and a 5th place. So these are some of the guys, and Kaluxai as well, 7th and a 3rd. So the likes of Braxok, Kaluxai, Luca D'Amelio, I'd say right now, those are the 3 that are fighting around the top part of the championship, before the lead of the championship. Doesn't matter if you're 1st or 2nd, at the end, you still go through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the moment it really does seem like it's very much between, I mean, for the title itself, it's very much between D'Amelio and Braxok. It's just about how close they remain, how consistently they deliver on this form. If they can keep this form up, then I have no qualm with saying that it will be those 2 going into Le Mans Virtual. But it can change so quick.
Yeah, but let's also remember this. You know, 500 drivers at the 1st round. We'll get the number for 2nd round. There's going to be more every time we go, and the amount of quick drivers out there, you've got to get into it first, haven't you? You've got to get in the top split first, and then after that, you've got to try and go and get a good result. And the Nordschleife, that's going to be some challenge, isn't it? I think there's going to be a lot of luck involved in that, as well as just being consistent, keeping out of trouble there. But I think you're going to have to be a little bit lucky not to get collected in someone else's incident over the course of a 45-minute race.
Oh, that was a little bit of a dive there to the inside, as Tom Stevens was just trying to defend 21st position from Zoltz Schuch, who's just trying to make his way back up the order after a not great start. Speaking of the Nordschleife, obviously we'll go a bit more into it, well, in a few weeks' time when we go there. That's the curveball here. If you're not having a good round right now, I don't think, this is why I think for D'Amelio, there's no need to take a risk right now. Settle for the points, because next round, you don't know where you're going to be.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it, we have Nordschleife specialists, and we have people who do not like it. I mean, everyone likes driving it, but we have people who do not like it, i.e. they're not quick there, and then we have specialists who are incredibly quick around there.
I've watched very, very quick drivers struggle around the Nordschleife. I have watched very, very slow drivers absolutely excel there, just because it's the circuit that they know, the different bumps and such that happen at the Nordschleife that you don't get everywhere else, all the corners, remembering the entirety of the nearly 200 corners around there. It's a difficult beast, and when you compare that to the 19, 20 corners that we have here at Spa, it's a very, very different kettle of fish. And so, I mean, that's why it's on the calendar. It's there to be a curveball, and that's why we love it.
It's going to be fantastic. Time is running out for Sean Arnold up at the head of the field. He needs to get a move on if he wants to go for this lead, as we make our way up Eau Rouge now and down the Kemmel Straight here. Fights going on all the way through the field. We really hope you've enjoyed the action so far. I think this is Maki Yupi trying to make another place here on now on Scouron. Maki Yupi's recovery continues. Juha Maki Yupi has been impressive since that spin he had coming through Les Combes. Not his fault either as well, just an innocent victim, in my opinion. Maki Yupi as they come down to the Bruxelles. How impressed have you been with how he's gathered himself and got going again in this race?
It's so easy when you've been spun around to, how many times have we heard about the red mist, and some people don't know how that feels. It is a nasty feeling, because as soon as you've been spun around, it's this wash of anger, and you're like, I need to get on with this. Now, some drivers react by setting the fastest lap times they've ever done around a circuit, and other drivers, they hit off the first driver they come across, and it's not their intent. It's just because they're so cross, they're so desperate to get on with it, that they then instantly make a mistake. Maki Yupi's just cleaned himself off, dusted it off, and gone, do you know what? I'm just going to drive, and I'm going to battle it out, and I'm going to see what I get. Perfect attitude to have.
Which one are you? I'm the latter.
I get a bit angry. I've been told this many a time. I wish I was calm, but I most certainly am not. At least vocally.
Right, let's continue with this battle then. Going on further down the field, Maki Yupi trying to get himself up the order here. This is your battle for 10th place. Up ahead, it's coming into a battle for 2nd rather than the lead now, isn't it? It's we're almost going to be on to the last lap. I'd say we're going on to the penultimate lap of the race here, as the cars make their way down the start-finish straight and up towards the La Source hairpin. We're very close to the end of the race now. Sean Arnold has given himself a good chance to make another place here to get himself up to second, and Braxok has done a good job to just relieve any pressure off himself. This is Rossival and Merguli. Merguli having got himself up the order even further here. Good recovery from Martin Merguli.
Yeah, it's very, very close for second as Luca D'Amelio and Sean Arnold see that across the sector.
Oh, wow, yes.
1/10 was separating them.
Spot.
No position changes happened. They are remaining in second and third. We return back to that battle, and you can see how tight it is. And again, nothing separates them. You're absolutely right about Janos Braxok, by the way. We're on the penultimate lap of the race. We will get one more after this if they're continuing on with this speed. Janos Braxok, though, his last lap time of 2:13.2 plays his personal best.
Wow.
A 2:13.2. He has saved the best till last. He has kept enough in his tyres, kept enough in his tank to push when it matters, and he's building the gap back up, back up. That is unbelievable confidence to allow the gap to come down just driving within yourself. That is brave.
Yeah, he's fully in control of that lead, isn't he? He knows exactly what he's doing, down to the minor tenths and thousandths of controlling the gap. And that is a driver who is very calm and controlling the race. It's great to see from Braxok, but we still have this fight for second. Sean Arnold got a little bit wide coming through Stavolo there, and that's cost him coming down towards the bus stop chicane. But already in his head, he's thinking camel straight. Camel straight. If I can get close enough, then I can do him down the straight.
Yeah, one more time. That is it. That is all they're going to get. We have 30 seconds left on the clock as we're going to start the final lap here of the Le Mans Virtual Cup at Spa. Things are looking good for Janos Braxok. Things are still looking decent for Luca D'Amelio, our Monza winner. However, things are most certainly not done right now. That was a decent exit from D'Amelio. I'd say, though, Sean Arnold might just, it's distant, but might be close enough when we get to Lake On.
He got a moment. He got a wiggle on out of La Source there, did D'Amelio. Sean Arnold looked a lot straighter on the exit, and that was a very, very good run up at Rouge and Bradion from Sean Arnold. We go on board with him now. D'Amelio's getting very nervous here. He's trying to break the toe as we go down the straight, but Arnold is hit full throttle. He cannot go any faster there, and he's going to have to tuck in behind, but he's a lot closer than he once was. And Arnold, if he can stay within reach, he might just be able to chuck one down the inside going into the bus stop chicane.
Luca D'Amelio is just confident at the right part of this track. As you know, sure, La Source was great. Obviously, the slipstreams pulled Sean Arnold along down into the bus stop, out of La Source, over Eau Rouge and Radion. A perfect Radion, by the way, from Sean Arnold. It just wasn't close enough. And Luca D'Amelio, I think, to be honest, I know there's a gap there, and I know it could come down as I think Papo or Stiello lose position. I think D'Amelio's going to hold this.
He's got just enough of a gap, it appears, but Stavolo is a very easy place to drop a wheel on the gravel, and if you do that, you're going to be left a sitting duck going down through Blanchimont and into the bus stop chicane. But he's done that very well, hasn't he? Coming through campus there. It's been a very good run from D'Amelio, and he's certainly got enough in the tank now, and Sean Arnold's put a hell of a fight to not even finish the first race. We were expecting him to be right up the sharp end. He didn't even finish, but this time Sean Arnold is going to take a podium. But well, Janos Braxok seventh in the first race at Monza, and Janos Braxok very much now is in contention to be in the top two overall. He is going to come out of the bus stop chicane, and Janos Braxok is going to win round 2 of the Le Mans Virtual Cup here at Spa. Luca D'Amelio retains the championship lead in second, and Sean Arnold back where he belongs. A DNF at round 1. Third this time. That is how you recover, Lewis.
I'm going to say, I think we need to give a bit of a round of applause to that podium there. Whilst the battle wasn't necessarily on track in wheel-to-wheel action, it certainly was there in its intensity, and Braxok, D'Amelio and Arnold were separated by very, very little across the run of the race. Fantastic stuff. 3 top-tier drivers all battling out and showing why they should be on the Le Mans Virtual Series grid once we head to the 24-hour Le Mans Virtual at the end of the year. Hemmingson and Andre inside the top 5. Christopher Hookfeld with another top 10. That's a decent result from him. I don't think it's what he wanted, but 4th place at Monza, 6th place here at Spa. Could be a bit of a sleeper.
Yep, Kalashine next, Delorme, and then we had Cynic. Oh dear, a spin out the final corner. Maki Yupi recovered to 10th, Scouron 11th, then it's Zitelio, Papo Barker. Nisula recovered to 15th place. What a shame, just no luck for him. It's almost like it's not meant to be. Lazaro, Maguli, Rosival, Baldi, Stevens, Zux, Harada, Vinciulo got there in the end. Vinciulo, real shame for him because he was looking incredibly quick at the start stages. Pastorino, Zan Rosso, Eshenko, Demori, who's involved in that incident. Karas, Whitehouse, Varkonyi, we lost at the very start. Likewise, Whitehouse. But thoughts overall, Lewis, you know, really great battle there at the front between those top three. Hemmingson, a big shout out to him coming through to 4th place from 10th on the grid. But we now really know who are the guys fighting for the top two, don't we? What were your thoughts on the race overall?
I mean, we're obviously still early doors, realistically speaking. We still have a fairly long trip before we head to Autosport International, so there's plenty of time for this to be decided. However, I will say things are looking very, very good for Luca Di Melio, but it can fall apart very, very quickly. I mean, Janis Brakshock doing enough there, but I said before, people like Christopher Hugfeld who finishing consistently, these are the drivers that really are like the sleepers among us. They're the ones that can get to the Nordschleife and spring a surprise. Yeah,
Hugfeld perhaps slightly overlooked, you know, a 4th and a 6th for him now this season. That's what you need in a series like this, as you mentioned. You know, keep him very consistent, and if he goes and takes a win, Nordschleife, like you said, all of a sudden he could be leading, but he's putting good points on the board. It doesn't matter that he's not on the podium because that doesn't matter. All you need to do is get inside the top two. So, yeah, really, really good stuff from him. Jimmy Nisula, I think we have to just talk quickly about him. You know, he had that fuel problem at round 1, turned around here at round 2.
Yeah, recovered inside the top 15, got to 15th place in the end after a couple of issues late on. Gergo Baldi dropped down. Also, I think there was another couple of issues. It's a bit of a shame. It's a hard hit, but the thing is, again, this is less so about the results. It's more so about proving a name, proving a point. Jimmy Nisula is a quality driver, more so in GTs than in prototypes, but trust me, he can drive, and he's proving it now. Just with the recovery drives more so than anything else.
If you're Nisula, then you just think, right, I've got 2 rounds to just show what I can do on the world stage and on the Le Mans Virtual Cup stage. And, you know, those teams may just say, let's have a look at Jimmy Nisula. So
exactly.
I think that's the thing about Le Mans Virtual Cup. If you're not fighting for the top 2, you are putting yourself on the biggest esports stage. You know, you're putting yourself on the Le Mans Virtual Cup. There's a lot of people watching this and all the teams are watching. So you could just have gone, right, I'm going to practice flat out around the Nordschleife, and when I get there, I'm going to prove myself to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the whole thing of, I've heard this from some people before that, oh, the big teams don't watch any of this small stuff. They only focus on the qualifying and then, you know, the big race itself. That is rubbish. That is absolute rubbish. The big teams, trust me, they will have someone, whether it's the team leader or whether it's a driver keeping an eye on a friend or whatever. There are eyes on this all across the sim racing world. And so for these drivers who maybe haven't built an enormous name for themselves, this is the chance for them to do so. For drivers like Gergo Baldi, I mean, I've brought this up before, he doesn't necessarily need to make a name for himself. He's won countless championships across sim racing. He's won various things, even in real life, moving into real life motorsport. He doesn't need to prove his name. People like Jimmy Nisula and stuff like that, Martin Hemmingson, this is the time.
Has there been any drivers that have surprised you so far? You know, some of these drivers might be to bigger fans, slightly unknown, of course, to anyone who is watching esports via just Le Mans Virtual Series. A lot of these names are going to be unknown. Is there any drivers that are surprising you, that are standing out, that you didn't expect?
Genuinely Di Melio. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know Di Melio is a talent, but for him to have come into this 1st and a 2nd place, he's a great driver. I was expecting top 5s, but to be able to win and contend for a win 2 rounds in a row, very, very impressive from a driver who's already proved himself a little bit in R-Factor 2. He's won a race in GT Pro, one of the standout series on R-Factor 2, but this is, again, another step.
Well, let's have a look back at the highlights then. If you didn't see the whole race, let's look back at the best moments. Here are the highlights from round 2 of Le Mans Virtual Cup. finishing it in style there as well. Janos Braksok, absolutely superb drive, of course. It did get a little bit hectic at the start of the race, but what can you expect? 30 drivers out there trying to fight for points to potentially get themselves into the 24-hour of Le Mans Virtual. But overall, a fantastic battle up the front between the top three there. Lewis was really good, wasn't it, that fight between the top three?
So good. Again, a good example as to how it should be done. A good example to some of the drivers for tomorrow's race when we come back. I'm sure they're going to be different class, sure, but picking apart pieces.
Yeah, we'll have a look at the results in full then. Let's remind you of who finished where. So, Janos Braksok winning the race from Sean Arnold from Luca D'Amelio in second, apology. Sean Arnold in third, then Hemmingson, Andre, Hoekveld, Kalashai, Delorme, Sink. We had Maki Yupi next in 10th place. Scouron, Zitelio, then Popo, Barker, Nasula, Lazaro, Moguli, Rosival, Bowdy, and Stevens. And then outside of the top 20, Sux, Harada, Vincilio, and then Pastorini, Zamrosso, Shenko, Demori, Karas, Whitehouse, and then behind that, Varkonyi. So that was the results in full. Really, really good racing here today. We're going to very quickly preview before we wrap up. Nordschleife, what are you expecting from that?
Do you know, I don't know. I want to say chaos. I just want to say chaos and drama. But it's one of those tracks where, because people are expecting chaos, because they're expecting it to be a hard track, they're ready for it. I mean, I've said this with other races that we've seen, where when they know it's something so difficult, they prepare in a different way, they race in a different way. I think we're going to see a very different style of race, maybe less intense when it comes to the actual battling and more intense on the sole focus of the driver against the track. That is the Nordschleife in a nutshell.
Well, that will be on the 12th of November. You can qualify for that. Wherever you qualify, you will race on the 12th of November. Head on to R Factor 2 and qualify to get yourself in the round 3 of the Le Mans Virtual Cup. If you qualify in the top 30, you will be seen in the broadcast. However, that's not all for Le Mans Virtual Series. Of course, round 2 will take place tomorrow. There's 6 hours of Spa. Incredibly excited for that one. We're going to be going live from 12:30 local time. Join us in the studio from there. Myself, Lewis and Doug will be building up to the race, and then we will go green at 1 p.m. local time here in the UK. Cannot wait for it. Do join us. Use the hashtag Le Mans Virtual. Let us know what you think. Spread the word. Us three, we'll see you then. But it's going to be a great, great race. But for myself, Chris McCarthy, Lewis McGlade, and Duncan Vincent, for now, it is goodbye.